Good morning. 49ers Wake Up is with you once again after another rousing win over Tampa Bay. The 49ers look back on a very much contending track. An unbelievable day from Brock Purdy, a fantastic day from Brandon Aiyuk. Defense might have bent, never broke, and what a game we have to talk about. Good morning, 49ers fans. You should feel good today. Good way to start a Thanksgiving week. A lot to be thankful for. Larry, thankful for you. Good morning, you sexy creature at 8 a.m. on a Monday.
Well, let me just start off by saying before I, lose all street cred in the Krueger humble abode, happy birthday to my wife, Amy. And she's more beautiful today than the day I married her. And she gave me 4 wonderful children. And today we will be celebrating her birthday by having the whole family together. Anna's home from college. Kevin's home from college. Everybody's off school. Unlike the old days where, Damon, we went Monday and Tuesday and half day Wednesday on Thanksgiving and got Thursday and Friday off. Now schools have the whole week off. Let's get the heck out of here. So the kids are off school and the college kids are home, and we're going to hang out with Mom this afternoon and celebrate her lap around the sun.
Happy birthday, Amy, without a doubt. It was so great that she showed up for Little Plus Mania 2. It was great to have you both there, Larry. Everyone was so happy to meet her, and I'm glad that all Krugers have been assembled for the
right.
week. That's great. I mean, that's what Thanksgiving's all about, getting the family around the table. And now that I got kids, I understand it in ways I used to not. It's fun. It's one thing to be a kid at the table. It's entirely different to be the parent running the table that the kids come back to. And that's when you start to okay, this is what matters in life. And it all happens like that. So look, good feelings all around, and why not? What a win for the 49ers. What a day for Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. And, we always start, Larry, with just the facts. Well, some of the facts surrounding the statistical accomplishments and the measurements that, look, let's face it. I don't think anyone, even Brock last night, went to the podium. He was asked about passer rating. He's like, I really don't understand it. I don't think any of us do. Right. I don't think any of us can come up with the formula that gives a perfect score of 158.3 or whatever the hell it is, whatever a perfect passer rating score is. Boy, he has done it. In the past 2 weeks, these are just the facts, Larry. In the past 2 weeks against the Jags and the Bucs, Purdy has gone 40 of 51 for an average of 315 passing yards with 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he's averaging better than 12 yards per attempt. These are significant numbers. These are Mahomesian. These are top shelf liquor numbers for any quarterback in any system, with any coach, with any amount of talent around them. These are the sorts of numbers that you produce in video games in back-to-back weeks more often than you do on an actual NFL field.
He's been incredible. He's been absolutely outstanding. And, it's funny. Some of these press conferences, a lot of times it's just like an exercise in futility. We ask some questions. They give us kind of pat answers. And, everybody writes their article or does their YouTube show or goes and does their radio or television show. We all move on, and that's it. Occasionally, something truly, interesting and relevant gets broached. And sometimes you don't even realize it when you're hearing it, Damon. It's like, we're so kind of conditioned for the exercise as media people, we're going to ask this question. They're going to give us that answer. We're going to jot it down. We're going to, it's like everybody's so beaten down. But listening to George Kittle last night at the podium, he called attention to a question that I had asked Brock on Thursday, and that he felt it was really significant, and he loved to hear Brock's answer. I'm gonna play this for you real quick here so you guys can hear this. This is from Thursday's presser, and I asked Purdy just a basic question, which is, how do you balance it? How do you balance the mindset of like what Kyle's been telling him lately? I'm sure coming out of the bye week, take care of the ball, don't turn it over. and then not play timidly or fearfully and still kind of let it rip. Like, let it rip, but don't let it rip to the other team. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rip, but don't dare turn it over. And it's like, and there's so much on the line. You got the ball in your hands. You're a quarterback, and you got to balance this whole mindset of, man, I got to play the way I played to have the success I've had leading up to this point in my career, high school, college, and then early in the pros. And yet I can't turn it over. So I asked him about it, and listen to this little exchange here, and tell me,
Brock, how do you balance the mindset of stay aggressive versus be patient, take care of the football, and take the check down? How do you balance that and still stay aggressive?
Yeah. I mean, it's a mindset, I'd say, just playing without fear. The fear of failure is something that, I feel like I've learned over the years, especially in college. If you go out there and have that mentality of, I don't want to mess up, then you start playing timid, and then you're, obviously not playing like yourself, like you have growing up your whole life with that competitive edge. So that's one thing that I've learned for sure is to, try to take out fear, throw it out the window, and play clear-minded, play like a surgeon, do what Kyle's asking of me, but being smart with the ball at the same time, but also having the mentality of, playing fearless. And that doesn't mean play reckless, but be smart with the ball, play within the offense and scheme. If something happens where it's off schedule, play ball. So I'm still learning that, honestly, but I feel like that's how I look at it right now.
really good answer there from Purdy. I thought the best part of that, Damon, was the truthful part of, I'm still working on it, man. It's like, it's not like I've arrived at a place and now I'm here and it will all be fine. It's like, this is a constant battle and I'm still working at, letting it rip but at the same time being cognizant of take care of the ball. And to me, that's his, kind of value proposition in a nutshell right there. It's like, that's what he needs to do to break through from nice little story to this guy is the legitimate long-term quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers that can and will win them Super Bowls in the future.
More than humility, which is easy to hear there, I hear accountability. And I like that very much in a quarterback. I like someone who is accountable for their mistakes and understands that an awful lot of the game's fortune lays in the decisions that they make from their position. And they have a responsibility to make the right decisions. A couple of weeks ago, when things were going wrong for the Niners and they had lost 3 in a row and he had thrown the handful of interceptions over those games, you made a point that I completely agreed with. When you basically said every coach has an easier job reeling in the aggressive than trying to coach aggressive into someone who is a little bit more gun shy. And not to just compare Brock Purdy to Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think that there's an awful lot of, boy, that's the teeter-totter that both of those guys are on, isn't it? Garoppolo was afraid to make the mistake and played accordingly. Purdy is not afraid to make a mistake. He's conscious of it. He is accountable for it. He's not afraid of it, though. And he understands that in order to make money, sometimes you need to gamble. He has won on some bad bets that he made. That first Jacksonville touchdown, right? He threw that thing, is breaking all the cardinal rules of quarterbacking, but Aiyuk caught it, so no harm, no foul. But he understands that that's one of his worst throws of the day, and Kyle finally has the ball of clay that is just moldable. I mean, it's perfect. This guy and Kyle seem to be as working together in harmony as some of the best quarterback and coaching combinations that we can remember. They seem to be completely on the same page. And that's why some unbelievable statistics and moments are being produced early, so early in a career. And I think the biggest theme of my show yesterday, Larry, was simply like, if this is just the start of it, like, where could this go? What if, for real, what we're looking at is something that is not a flash in the pan of a year or two, but this turns into, a 5, 6, 7 years of this. That would be one of the single greatest finds in discovery in sports history with the final pick of the draft. And I just think that we now need to completely get over the fact of where he was drafted. It doesn't matter. It's where he sits in the hierarchy of actual NFL quarterbacks right now. Are there still some hurdles he is yet to clear? Yeah, you could say that those are the same hurdles that Kyle Shanahan still has to clear, proving that they can win a game trailing by more than 8 in the fourth quarter. But they're also a team that's in a situation where they're not in that situation very much, which is a blessing. So you shouldn't be rooting for that hard game to come around as much as you should be rooting for this team to come out with a first, second, and third quarter game plan that kind of turned the fourth quarter into a snooze fest. And they got the talent to do that, man. This is an unbelievable beginning. And again, just the facts, Larry, just the facts through Sunday's game. He is the first NFL quarterback with he's first in NFL QBR. He's first in passer rating. He's first in yards per attempt. He's third in completion percentage. He's tied for fifth in touchdown passes, and he's sixth in passing yards per game. These are all the important statistics for a quarterback, and he is in the top 6 in all of them. So what are we looking at? We're looking at a guy who yesterday joined a conversation that was Joe, Steve, and no one. Now it's Joe, Steve, and Brock in terms of perfect passer rating. And it's been fun to watch. It really has.
Amazing thing. The only thing I'll disagree with what you said there is I don't think that Garoppolo himself played timid. I think Garoppolo played loose. I think Kyle coached timid with Garoppolo. I think Kyle didn't, look at the way when the Niners, you go back to the first 2019 playoff game, and Garoppolo threw a couple of really bad passes early in that game. Kyle just took the ball completely out of his hands for the next 2 playoff games. He just said, "Oh my God, this is my quarterback, and I want to go to the Super Bowl, and so I'm going to coach him by just running Raheem Mostert, and I'm just going to run and run and run some more." I think they had 9 total passes in like 2 games, and they got to the Super Bowl. And
look, I understand the point you're making, but I've also now seen Jimmy in another uniform and in another situation. And oddly, it wasn't a very good situation. Everything went wrong.
He's just not very good. I mean, he's just middle of the road, period.
Right.
But I think
he's not even in Brock Purdy's weight class as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear. It's funny. Jimmy was very popular in the room, of course, with the guys. And Kittle and Juszczyk were 2 of his best friends, and they never wanted to say anything negative about Jimmy, and really wouldn't, because they really had loyalty as friends, beyond it superseded football and that kind of thing. But man, when the games started to string together towards the end of the year, and Kittle kept putting up these historic numbers, I think he had to acknowledge, and I think Juice did too, that even though they loved Jimmy and Jimmy was their friend, that this rookie who had been thrust into the action in week 13 only because of an injury was actually better. And they knew it. They absolutely knew it. But what we've seen recently from Brock, the part that I think is the most laughable was this offseason Trey Lance fan notion that Brock could not improve, that what we saw was a polished, finished product, and there was not going to be any improvement in year 2. And that was always based on nonsense. Everybody improves, and you improve the most in the NFL from year 1 to year 2. And especially if you're playing kind of a cerebral position, like either inside backer or quarterback, if you're wearing the green dot on defense, or if you're part of the decision-making process on offense. I mean, the improvement curve is significant from year 1 to year 2. And for people to come out last year in the offseason, or this offseason, and be like, yeah, Brock can't get any better. It's like, dude, just quit giving opinions on football altogether, because you're wrong in like one of the most core elements of professional football. And you're so unbelievably wrong that you just need to shut up. I mean, it's just like, it's really bad. And so that to me was the most offensive take of the offseason, which is that Brock Purdy, a 23-year-old kid who does nothing but work at his craft and thinks football around the clock, couldn't get better. And I remember when I asked him that question in May at the minicamp, I said, Brock, describe where you're at right now inside Kyle's offense compared to where you were at last May. And he's like, oh my God. He was like, he was like, Krug, it's all night and day. Last year, I literally walked to the line of scrimmage in May.
You call you Krug? You say Krug.
I think he might have said Krug.
Right.
But he's like, you know what? I walked to the line of scrimmage and I'm like, couldn't even remember the plays. I could barely spit them out with the verbiage. Now it's like I know nuances of coverage and what I'm looking for and key elements pre-snap. How they react to the shift, how they react to a potential motion, the coverage, what side we're sliding the line, the protection, everything. There's so many elements that I have down now that I'm so far advanced. And just hearing that question or hearing that answer, I remember thinking, wow, this guy is going to be quite a bit better this year. And what we saw yesterday, Damon, he became the first 49er quarterback and only the 22nd quarterback in the history of the NFL to finish with that 158.3 perfect passer rating with a minimum of 25 attempts. And it's just amazing. 333 yards yesterday, 21 of 25 for 3 touchdowns, no picks, second week in a row, no picks. And you just mentioned over his last 2 games, he's completed 78% with 6 touchdowns and no picks, going up against Jacksonville and Tampa, 2 defenses that are right there among the league lead at takeaways, and he didn't give it away one time. And he started the day by throwing 4 incomplete passes and taking a sack on the first drive, and then didn't miss a beat, finished 21 of 25. So, I mean, the guy right now is playing at a really, really high level. I think, so many of the Eagles, Damon, took the 49er dialogue after the NFC Championship game as like disrespectful, but it really wasn't disrespectful. Looking back at it and talking to some of the players, it was their belief in Brock Purdy and their belief in what they could potentially do with Brock Purdy that fueled those comments. It wasn't like, the Eagles suck and we can't come to grips with the fact that they beat us. It was that, hey, you know what? We think our guy's kind of pretty damn good. And we didn't have him. And then we went to a third string guy, and then we had no guy at all. And you beat us on the road. But you know what? If Brock hadn't gotten hurt, we think that game would have gone different. That was an honest opinion from Debo, from Kittle, and from anybody else who stood up and said it. And it played like the Niners won't give the Eagles their flowers. The Niners won't give the Eagles respect. The Niners, no, it was really rooted in they have a belief that they can beat anybody on any day with Brock Purdy. And I think we're going to see it in Philly in a couple weeks. Obviously the Seattle game's first on Thanksgiving, then Philly. But I feel great about the Niners' chances of winning in Philly. I think the Niners know that they kind of talked a big game. And they're going to fire big against the Eagles in week 13. I'm convinced of it.
It's got game of the year written all over it. It's got NFL game of the year written all over it.
Maybe tonight is.
NFL game of the year might be kicking off at Arrowhead, Eagles and Chiefs, Monday Night Football. That's a monster. All right. You shot a lot at me right there.
Okay.
Let me try to go back through it.
Sure.
It takes 0 talent to bet against Brock Purdy. It takes 0 skill level to have bet against Brock Purdy at the day he was drafted. Okay. Of course, he's Mr. Irrelevant. That never works out. He's not in a situation that even with the fantastic start that offseason, he's having surgery. It suggests that this won't be a leap forward offseason for him. Betting against Brock Purdy took no talent at all. It was easy to do that. It's also easier to admit, had you bet against him, that you might have been wrong about that, because these aren't just suggestions of data points. These aren't just little bits of statistics. This isn't a game or two. This isn't a flash. There is a sustained level of performance that we're getting from him over the course of a full regular season in terms of starts split over 2 regular seasons. And it's something else. It's something else. Here's something that you might have missed, Larry. I don't know if you saw this one. I saw it in the Nick Wagner write-up yesterday.
Nick does a great job, by the way, for ESPN.com.
Yes, he does. And this was pretty darn interesting. He pulled out a little football encyclopedia and came up with this one. But just the facts, okay? His 5 interceptions are tied for the second fewest among starters. His 9.7 yards per attempt are the second most through 10 games in NFL history among players with a minimum of 250 attempts. He's keeping company with Boomer Esiason in 1988, Dan Marino in 1984, Aaron Rodgers in 2011. And at that rate, all 3 of those seasons for Boomer, Marino, and Aaron Rodgers went on to be MVP seasons for all 3 of those quarterbacks. So we're talking about some of the great seasons ever played in quarterbacking, just legend. And Brock Purdy is doing that in year 2. It wasn't year 2 for Marino, Boomer, or Aaron Rodgers, by the way, in any of those years. It wasn't year 2 that they were doing that. So to try to deny this guy is just means you're cheap and you don't want to buy the flowers. I mean, that's it. That's all. That's to not be able to hand this guy a bouquet of compliments means you don't even know who you're buying flowers for or what holiday it is. Like you're making shit up at this point. You're coming up with reasons to pretend what the rest of us are seeing that we aren't really seeing it. So it takes no talent at all to have bet against him. It should take even less talent to admit that you were wrong in that bet, but the untalented are galactically untalented all the way around. That's just how it goes. Brock Purdy, with a passer rating of 158.3, he joins Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and then Rams quarterback Jared Goff as the only quarterbacks under the age of 24 in NFL history to attain this passer rating. Goff is having a much better year than anyone would have bet on him having in Detroit, and the Lions are very good. Lamar has already won an MVP, and, Brock is just keeping the, most elite of elite statistical company. He is, when you look around this league. The other thing, coming back to the belief in Brock in that Eagles game, I'm totally on board. I think that you are right that they were not trying to disrespect Philadelphia, but they basically said we had to play an NFC championship game with 2 hands tied behind our back. It was hard to do. Wasn't really a fair fight the minute Josh Johnson is checking in and pissing down his own leg. So, they're direct snapping to Christian McCaffrey in that game. It was the worst possible scenario that could have befell the 49ers in the NFC title game. And the other thing, the last thing, and this is all reacting to what you just threw at me, when you said how, Kittle, they love Garoppolo, and they really like Jimmy, and that's our guy, and they would wear T-shirts of each other, and that was all buddy. You know who wasn't buddy with Jimmy Garoppolo? Trent Williams. Trent Williams, he liked Garoppolo. He didn't dislike Jimmy Garoppolo, but Trent didn't come here to do anything other than play better football and win. And he's like the first among the veterans to be like, dude, this third string kid that I've never even heard of is pretty damn good. There's the famous story of Brock Purdy hearing Trent Williams compliment him walking off a practice field. And that was one of the first real shots of confidence that Brock Purdy ever had in his NFL career. Like, damn, Trent Williams thinks I'm pretty good. That's a good start. So
did you see Trent's comment going into this game?
No.
He said, talking about Brock, he said, it's like taking him 206, taking Brock.
Oh, yeah, it's like the Powerball.
262. It's like playing the lottery and hitting the Powerball when it's at $2 billion. By the way, Damon, Brock Purdy coming into yesterday was the number 1 quarterback in QBR, which is the ESPN all-encompassing quarterback stat, behind an offensive line that ranked 22nd in the NFL in pass block win rate. So he's not operating behind the league's best line, and yet he's the number 1 quarterback in QBR. And by the way, the last quarterback, the last Niner quarterback to have a perfect passer rating was 1989 I was a freshman at Sacramento State in 1989. I'm now 53 and have 2 kids in near grad school.
Yeah, I was
So
14 years old
exactly.
in
It's
1989.
been a while. And there are still people that always want to dangle this and that. And the latest dangling thing is, hey, yeah, but his passer rating in the fourth quarter when the Niners were trying to put this game away was 82.6. And until he shows that he can play at a high level in that fourth quarter in a tight game and win it against a good team, he's not going to check that box. Okay. If you want to die on that hill, die on that hill. Some people want to die on the hill of, hey, you know what? He can't he can't win a Super Bowl. All right. You want to die on that hill, die on that hill.
I haven't played in one yet.
I get a feeling that those days are coming for both of those things, that both of those boxes will get checked with this quarterback. And if you want to wait to check them until it actually happens, God bless you. But we just, it's like when I said on the radio last summer while I was filling in, I said, this guy's Brock Purdy's the real deal. And I got so many people who were scoffing. Okay, all right. Here we go. Krug's always obsessed with the esoteric, and he always loves the practice squad guys, and Krug. And the guys scoffed, and I won't name them because they're good guys, but they scoffed and they were like, "Oh yeah, right, Brock Purdy, yeah." And then I tweeted last summer. I go, next year the battle at quarterback will be between Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, and not Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. It was like, yeah, right. I got that one on my timeline. The comments are all like, you're an idiot, you're a fool, you're a jackass. So you know what? It's an unlikely thing, but to me, what clinched it was when I met the guy and talked to him, and he had I interviewed Tom Brady on the Stanford practice field during the East-West Shrine game practices the year he came out in 1999. And Damon, I swear to God, I've interviewed Russell Wilson. I've interviewed Drew Brees. I got deja vu. I got like elite quarterback deja vu interviewing Brock Purdy in the Niner locker room his rookie year in training camp, or right after the end of training camp, like week 1. That unbelievably humble, really polite, aw shucks, nice guy. But that simmering, I will cut your throat to beat you. I live for football and to win football games. And it's like all in one, quarterback cocktail. It's like, wow, that guy seemed really humble and nice. But you know what? That guy's a killer. He's a stone cold killer. And you could tell. Same thing with Tom Brady. Gives you the aw shucks and the this and that. Russell Wilson's like that. Drew Brees is like that. Oh, we're just here. We're just happy to be here. But these guys had this simmering, boiling confidence of, I'm going to win. I'm damn good. I don't care what you think about me. I know what I think about myself. This is not your career. This is my career, and I'm going to make it happen. You just go watch. I got that same vibe. And here we are. I knew he was going to be good. I didn't know he was going to be this good. And he's just been phenomenal. And I think if you're a 49er fan, they got to build up their line. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. They got to build up their offensive line. I don't know if Spencer Burford is good enough at right guard. I don't know if Jake Moody is going to make the kick with money on the line. I don't know if they can stop the run in 5, 6, 7 weeks when Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner are more beat up and more injured and more tired. I don't know. I don't know if they can get by without Talanoa Fonga and win a Super Bowl with a rookie safety who's impressive, but we'll talk about him. But, there's a lot of unknowns. I don't know if they have good enough coverage, but I know they got the right quarterback, and I know that they're going to have several chances to win said Super Bowl in the next whatever period of time, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever it is. They've got their quarterback position and their head coach position right, and that's where winning a Super Bowl really starts. And then it's about, the other pieces of the puzzle. And we'll see if Lynch and Peters and the personnel department have enough skill to surround their head coach and their quarterback with the pieces it's going to take. But let's not debate the quarterback anymore. Let's start focusing on the other issues that could prevent this team from winning a Super Bowl.
Look, I want to get into the nuts and bolts of that game too. I mean, I know that Thursday's coming quick, but we should enjoy this win over Tampa Bay. There's some really interesting football to be talked about, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the game as we continue. But just to kind of put a bow on our celebration day Purdy, as we open up this episode of 49ers Wake Up, he's all we've talked about for the first half hour. Larry, I don't know. Again, this is one of the strengths you and I have as broadcasters is we're willing to admit, like, I don't know what any of this means, but I'm just trying to gather it and trying to figure it out. The choice between physical gifts and hard work to get there is becoming easier for me to make that choice. And I think I'll take the guy with the hard work. You know what I mean? Pardon me, I just frog in my throat. There are some guys, especially in high school and then in college, who just have these level of physical talents that separate them from college players and real, are you better than everyone else on the football field today? Because of physical gifts, the answer is yes, I am. And God bless you if that's the situation you're in. You hit the genetic lottery. You were born with a body that was just preordained to have a real shot at a professional career. And your physical gifts, whenever you can take the physical gifts and wrap them into the work ethic that comes with the guy that doesn't have the physical gifts, that's when Patrick Mahomes happens, right? That's when the best of 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 the best and easy to see and easy to bet on all come down the pipe at the same time. There's something to be said for the kid who didn't have the body to get recruited to the elite school that is on a football field where he's not the best football player, but he is responsible for elevating the talent level of everyone else around him by how he plays and the choices that he makes. There's something to be said for the underestimated kid who has to be twice as cerebral, prepare twice as hard. And I'm not saying that the physical gift guy gets to mail it in, but sometimes someone with physical gifts just says, I got this. I got this. I don't need another practice rep here. I don't need another day in the weight room. I'm physically better than all these guys as it is. Then you get to the NFL and you find out quickly, everyone here is an absolute fucking stud. Everyone, not some of the guys. Everyone on this football field is the single best football player I have ever seen. That's what the NFL is. And that's when guys who just have physical gifts can no longer win with only their physical gifts. And that's when a guy like Brock Purdy gets underrated.
Who was recruited to Alabama, by the way, and only stayed at Iowa State out of loyalty to committing to Iowa State first. How about that?
So that to me is a part of the mental makeup it takes between, are you a real man or do you just jump to best opportunity to best opportunity? Real men stick out commitments and loyalty and honor the contracts they signed and all the stuff that your grandfather used to preach about. There is an element to, I've committed to this, I'm going to see it through, that I respect so much more than the kid who transfers because I don't have the amount of playing time that I'm comfortable with. Like, I respect the hell out of that. I really do. And I'm not saying that I totally disrespect the kid that transfers, but to me,
I kind of do.
The kid who, it's an individual case-by-case basis in a lot of instances, but the kid who sticks it through, to me, always gets the wink and the smile and that way to go, kid. Like, that to me is, that's who I want my sons to be. As a father raising two sons, I want my kids to be the kids who honor contracts, even if it might not be benefiting them. If you've agreed to it, you do it. That's like, that to me, that matters.
Well, I can remember as a little kid, because we all played sports, from when we were little kids. And I can remember, I forget what grade it was, and I forget what sport it was. I think it might have been soccer in like the 4th grade or something like that. And I came home after, 2-3 weeks, and I was like, Dad, I don't want to play soccer anymore. I want to quit. And he's like, you don't have to play soccer anymore if you don't want to, but you're not going to quit. And I said, well, what? No, you don't understand. I don't want to do it anymore. He's like, that's fine. You don't have to do it anymore, but you can do that next year. This year, you committed to the rest of those kids to be on that team and to that coach to be on that team. And we're going to every game. We're going to be at every practice. You're not quitting. And it was like an eye opener. I mean, I was fourth grade, but still it was like, yeah, you're right. It's like, I can't quit now. It's like, I've got, if I want, I cannot play in the 5th grade if I don't want to play soccer, but I'm going to be going out there. And it is true. And it's like, as a little kid, there was birthday parties on Saturdays, right? Like, oh, I got Jimmy's birthday party and they've rented out, Marriott's and we're all going in a bus and it's going to be awesome. Oh, but you've got a soccer game against St. Gabriel's at 11 a.m. Oh, but Dad, let's just skip that. I want to go to the party. And now in 2023, parents will be like, oh, yeah, Jimmy's got a better opportunity. He's going on his bus, rented out. They're going to rent out the whole place. So we won't be at the game, Coach. Oh, no problem, 2023 idiot parent. No problem. We'll see Jimmy next week. Not George Krueger. He was like, sorry, you're on the team. You're going to the game. We go to every practice, every game, or we're not on the freaking team. You made a commitment to your team. You're going to live up to that commitment. And I remember thanking him for that in high school, going, Dad, I really appreciated that.
Right. Day of, you didn't thank him.
Oh, no.
Day of, you wanted to go to that party, but
I wanted to go to the party. Are you kidding me? They're going to have a pony. They're going to be painting faces. It's going to be awesome. No, you're playing Holy Name that day on a foggy outer sunset, pitch somewhere.
You never know you're learning how to be a man while you're actually learning how to be a man. It's like Daniel LaRusso didn't realize he was learning the entire textbook of karate defense when he's sanding the floor and painting the house and waxing on and waxing off. And then all of a sudden Miyagi's like, all right, let me show you how this all works in real life. And now, the light bulb goes off for Daniel LaRusso and in a montage of fixing up the house, he becomes a black belt. And, maybe growing into adulthood isn't that easy, but yeah, the little lessons along the way go into who you are. And how about this, Larry? I don't need to meet him. I've heard some sound bites. I even interviewed him once, but I don't need to meet Brock Purdy's dad to know that Brock Purdy's dad's a square shooter. You know what I mean? Like this, I bet you that guy's a good guy. Bet you that guy's the kind of guy you'd want babysitting or raising your kid. Like you can just tell. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It really doesn't.
Did you see Brock's brother Saturday for Nebraska? Chubba had a big game against Nebraska.
No.
Brock was leading the thing where, hey, did you watch your brother this weekend? He's like, oh, yeah, Yeah, it's an athletic family they come from. The dad pitched in the minors for the Giants. The brother plays at Nebraska. Brock's doing his thing with the Niners. I think the sister is like some star volleyball player. It's an incredible story, really. And the 49ers, I can still remember watching the draft. Here comes Mr. Irrelevant. I'm wishing for some linebacker or whatever. And the 49ers select Brock Purdy. I'm like, oh, God, really? Some smallish, college quarterback with no arm. I saw Iowa State. I saw this guy. Oh, I know he won some big games, but really? And then a buddy of mine who I called, who scouts in the league, said, Krug, I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you, but I was in Ames earlier this year, and I've seen this kid up close, and I'm going to send you a highlight reel, and I want you to watch it and then call me back. So he sends me a highlight reel. I watched it, and I'm like, yeah, he did look pretty good. I'll admit he looked pretty good, but can he transition to the pros? And he's like, I believe in this kid. And this guy's a tremendous young scout. I won't name him just because I don't know that his pro team wants him talking to media people on or off the record about guys
right
in the draft that his team did not draft. But
sources, Larry, sources.
Right. But this guy is a great young scout who's going to be a general manager someday. And he was like, you know what, Krug? I love you, and I think you're right about so much, but you're wrong on this kid. This kid can flat out play. And he won me over. And I said, you know what? I'll wait till minicamp. I love what you sent me. It's incredible. I'll put it away in my back of my brain, but I got to see it in minicamp. I went to minicamp, and the guy was perfect. I'm like, all right, I can't be that guy who goes crazy over minicamp. So I go, I'm going to wait till training camp. And sure enough, in training camp, Brock looked absolutely incredible. The first preseason game he ever played, he worked the play clock down to like 1 in the fourth quarter trying to win the game. And I went up to Tim Ryan at the next practice, and we're talking to each other. I'm like, Tim, did you see Purdy in that fourth quarter? And he's like, he looks right at me and he's like, the play clock? And I'm like, yeah, the play clock. I'm like, that was unbelievable. And we both like, give the bro hug. And we're like, dude, that was freaking unbelievable.
Larry, this is what I'm talking about with, would the physical gifts kid have played that play clock the way that the kid without the physical gifts did? I'm not.
It's the difference between playing quarterback and living to win. When some people show up for the money, some people show up for the girls, some people show up for the glory, and some guys show up to win. The greatest quarterbacks of all time, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, the greatest athletes in team sports you've ever seen, Derek Jeter, Jordan. These guys show up for the W. Curry. He shows up for the win. It's not about, did you go 40? Did you get 50? Did you have the windmill dunk? Did you go behind the back? Jeter, did you have the running throw into the hole? Did you have the game-winning hit? No, it's about the win. It's all about the W. And that's what working the play clock to one in a preseason throwaway game, in the fourth quarter tells people about you. It's that you're out there to win. When Brock Purdy did that slide, I think it was against Seattle. Now they got Seattle this week. When he slid, remember when he ran to the sideline and he slid, and as he slid, he extended the football forward?
Mm-hmm.
That was such a Russell Wilson-like play against the Niners. I can't tell you the number of times Seattle beat the Niners with Russell Wilson, where Wilson and the offense finished the game on the field, putting the dagger shot in the Niners with some little first down that Russell ran for, threw for, whatever. And watching Brock do that to Seattle, it was like, you know what? Now the Niners have their own Russell Wilson. His name's Brock Purdy. So they're very, very fortunate. And even Shanahan, when he was asked about, I asked Shanahan this week, did you ever worry that when Brock started throwing those picks over the last 2 games, that he would be timid and that he would be, that it would change his whole mindset about playing the position and he'd kind of lose his feel and everything? He's like, no, I really didn't. Why? Because the rest of the film was outstanding in those games. If you watched Brock against Cincinnati, if you listened to the YouTube crew, you would have thought he absolutely stunk up the joint against Minnesota and Cincinnati. That ain't true.
He threw for he had more than 700 yards from scrimmage. He had better than 70% passes completed, undone by the 4 interceptions.
Right. He completed in that Minnesota game going to the fourth quarter 85% on the road. So, I mean, he played well against Minnesota. He just turned it over twice in the fourth quarter. He played really well against Cincinnati. He just turned it over twice in the fourth quarter. And so Shanahan was like, no, I wasn't concerned. But, obviously you can't turn it over 2 times in the fourth quarter and win games in the NFL. So he's got to eradicate that portion of his game for sure. But he knows it.
Welcome to 49ers Wake Up. It is wonderful to have you here. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger, going over everything, not just Brock's day. And look, we'll get back to him. You can't talk about the Niners for 10 minutes in a row without returning to Brock. So we'll get back for sure. Larry, a few other things to share from yesterday. Along with Purdy having now 18 touchdown passes this season, his 76-yarder to Brandon Aiyuk is the longest of his career and the longest touchdown pass by any quarterback in football this year to date. So not bad for Dink and Dunk. I want to talk
about just an absolute dime to Aiyuk.
Well,
I mean, that was just unbelievable when you think about it. That ball traveled 42 yards in the air on a line just over Jamel Dean's hand, right into Brandon Aiyuk's hands. 76-yard pitch and catch, 20-7 49ers. Just
Larry,
a flat-out dime.
I saw this from your boy Vish. I know that you do some
Love Vish.
stuff with content creators. I think Vish is one of your best guests that you have on. You appear on his channel. I like Vish very, very much too. Brandon Aiyuk. This is from Vish's Twitter. Brandon Aiyuk currently 10th in the NFL in receiving yards with 831. 61 targets this year. That's 43rd in the NFL, tied with Cole Kmet. So again, it's not like he is getting an abundance of targets, yet he is 10th in the NFL in receiving yards. 38 of his 43 receptions have gone for first downs. 38 of 43 catches have moved the chains. He's second in the NFL at 19.3 yards a catch. Brandon Aiyuk, he might not be, Larry, in the end zone as often as you wanted him to be. I remember a couple weeks ago, you were trying to tell me he was disappointing you. I don't think he should still be disappointing you.
That whole thing was so blown out of proportion. I was simply made a statement based on what he had done in camp. I expected him to have 12 to 15 touchdowns this year.
I'm the guy who told you training camp didn't matter. That doesn't just apply to quarterbacks.
No, but it did matter. It did matter. He was having
He was
great camp.
Separating is great.
My whole entirety of my point was just, I'm a little disappointed. We're halfway through the season and he has 2 receiving touhdowns.
Why
I understand.
Why do you hate him? Boo!
Yeah, exactly. You hate Aiyuk.
You hate Aiyuk.
It's just ridiculous. I got put into this position where I was just saying I felt like he was disappointing based on the touchdown percentage. But dude, nobody's more immersed in Niner football than me. I'm there every day. I'm at every practice. I'm at every presser. Seriously. That was the entirety of the point. And then it was like, well, look at all the catches and and I'm like, I'm just saying I'm disappointed in the touchdown percentage or the touchdown production. That was it. And it got grown into so much more. But now the Niners have a question that's coming up this offseason, which is you're paying Debo 20 and you're going to have to pay this cat 20. Are you willing to pay your 2 starting wide receivers north of $40 million in a run first team? Now you can do it if you want to do it because you've got Brock Purdy making $840,000 and he's still got a year or 2 left on his rookie deal. But will they? Will they? And I think if Aiyuk could come first and not Debo, they would have signed Aiyuk and traded Debo. But because Debo came first and they already paid Debo, now I don't think you can I don't think you can trade Debo. I think it's a matter of you either pay Aiyuk or you trade Aiyuk. And they do need an offensive tackle, and there probably will be a team in the advance up to the draft in April that will give you a number 1 pick for Brandon Aiyuk. The question is, do the Niners pay him the $20 million plus and keep him? Or do they pawn him for a first-round draft choice like the Eagles did or like the Titans did with A.J. Brown and like some other teams have done with their star wide receivers?
Yeah, I'm not.
That's really the question coming up.
I'm not coming off Brandon Aiyuk. And unfortunately, Debo is, he's kind of drifting into as overpaid a player as you're going to find in football. There's a lot to like about Debo. Statistics are not among the things to like about Debo, unfortunately.
Debo's got real value, but
yeah, he does, but it ain't at 20 million. It's not.
Well, Aiyuk separates. Aiyuk's got real ball skills and separates. Debo is more of a gadget wide receiver, but also Debo is a leader on this team. He's one of the guys that gets the rest of the group up to play. In some ways, he is the 49ers because his level of physicality on offense is the kind of one of the defining traits of this football team.
He's a huge tone setter. It's playing with violence. Yeah, he does that. Setter. I like it. I also like receivers who are running wide open without anyone 6 yards around them. That's also Brandon Aiyuk. And look, if you went up to Brock Purdy and you said, we're getting rid of Brandon Aiyuk, Brock Purdy would be like, don't do that. So yeah. I don't think you should do that.
Those guys' connection right now,
it's special. It's
unbelievable.
There's something to, and look, the connection between Purdy and the yesterday was the best game that George Kittle has had that no one will talk about. George Kittle was good yesterday. I want to talk about the defense. We haven't talked at all about the defense. It's a weird day for the defense because, look, Baker Mayfield made some plays out there. And then Baker Mayfield, kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo, he'll make a few plays in a row, make you say, all right, I get why he's in the NFL. I totally get it. Then he's blocking Nick Bosa, and you say to yourself, geez, no wonder why his teammates like him. He's scrappy as hell. And, you even heard Moose Johnson say, Baker Mayfield plays quarterback like an offensive lineman. And that's just a great compliment to give to a guy. And it is. And then kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo, he lets like 3 or 4 or 5 balls go in a game where you're like, what was he looking at? Oh my God, that should have been a pick. I can't believe that wasn't a pick. Yesterday, the 49ers defense registered 11 pass deflections, which are the most the unit has registered since 2016. So I want to give an awful lot of credit to that secondary for playing very handsy, fighting at the point of the catch football without drawing a whole bunch of flags. Specifically, Mooney Ward, who, Larry, in the last few weeks was just like an automatic PI waiting to happen. He had a really good game yesterday. That secondary had a good game. And the fact when Talanoa Hufanga went out, it didn't change the prospects dramatically is a really good sign. You wanted to get to Ji'Ayir Brown? I'd like to get to Ji'Ayir Brown right here, right now, because he got caught flat-footed like his first play of the day, gets burned on the seam route. Then he's guarding Mike Evans in the end zone, breaking things up on 4th down. He ends the game with the consequential interception in the end zone to wrap it up right there. Even if Tampa had scored that, I still think the game's wrapped up. But it was a nice way to end the game for him. And I really like Talanoa Hufanga. Talanoa Hufanga's not having as good of a year this year as he had last year. Ji'Ayir Brown can play. I mean, I watched an awful lot of Penn State football when he was on the team, and he plays the run and the pass well. He's got ball skills. He can catch. I don't think that the step from Hufanga to Brown is a massive backward step. It's not a side. It's not linear. It's not exactly the same, but it's not a massive regression. And I think the 49ers are going to be able to play through Ji'Ayir Brown as this team starting safety and look an awful lot like a defense that can do things.
It was the most deceiving box score of the year for the Niners, I thought. Baker Mayfield was 8 of 10 for 80 yards at halftime. Now, 80% is 80%, but 8 of 10. So he wound up in the second half. He finished 29 of 45. So do the math. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are their 2 top receivers. They combined yesterday for 11 catches for almost 80 yards.
They were essentially taken out of the game while they remained in the game.
But I mean, Godwin was shut out in the first half.
Right.
Evans had the 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half and the 1-yard touchdown grab. So, I mean, the Niner defense had 2 different modes, and it kind of took me back to the Steeler game in week 1. The Niners beat the Steelers 30-7, but it was much more one-sided than that. The Niners beat Tampa Bay 27-14, but this was more one-sided than that. The 49ers played a bend but don't break defense, and they let off the gas pedal on defense in the second half, and they were content to allow Baker to throw 6 to 8 yard outs to Otten and Evans and Godwin and Jarrett and all these guys at will. I mean, basically just at will. And the coverage was tight. It was really tight, but Baker was threading the needle and making plays. The Niners lost. I mean, I don't know if it was by design, but they seemed content. They lost some of their urgency to really shut off their water. And let's give there's that old saying, those guys get paid too. Well, truer words have never been spoken. I mean, Evans and Godwin and Baker, I mean, these guys are pros, and they made a lot of plays. But at halftime, Chris Godwin, 0 catches, 0 yards. At halftime, Mike Evans, 1 catch for 1 yard. So the defense did a nice job, I thought, overall, I think these numbers are very, very deceiving. As far as Ji'Ayir Brown, I think, has the potential to be even better than Talanoa Hufanga. Now, Hufanga is really an instinctive player, very, very smart, very heady. He lives for football. He told me last week in the locker room that he watched the film 5 times before Tuesday. You know, I mean, it was like, this guy just loves it, lives it, and he's the real deal. But Ji'Ayir Brown is a bigger hitter with better speed. And yesterday, Ji'Ayir Brown, in a short amount of time, 4 tackles, 2 solo, made a play in the end zone that was huge, had an interception, defended 3 passes. I mean, he is I love Ji'Ayir Brown in the draft. I was standing on the table cheering wildly when they took him. Why? Because to me, when you really hit home runs in the draft is when you can marry special athleticism with special collegiate production. And that's what that kid had. He was on the Bruce Feldman freaks list. He power cleans like 360 and he benches the whole weight room and the squats, everything. The guy's a freak of nature. He's one of the great athletes coming out of college football the last few years. And he picked off 16 passes or whatever it was in 3 seasons at Penn State. So he played at a great football powerhouse factory. He was well coached. He was productive as hell. He can play in the box or he can play down the field in coverage. And he's a workout warrior, freak of nature athlete. So
I got cousins who they're all Penn Staters. The dad, the boys, everyone went to Penn State. And they
love this kid.
Oh, they used to tell me, too bad he can't also be tight end. He might have the best hands on the team. We should play him both ways.
You should. Oh, and Damon, he was an all-state New Jersey basketball player who set the record in the state of New Jersey for steals. So what does that tell you about his break on the ball? I mean, what is stealing the basketball? It's a lot of times it's your vision, it's your anticipation, and it's your first step or two, right? That's what helps you get into the passing lanes and it's your desire and it's your preparation. This kid's got all of that. So, I mean, I interviewed him at minicamp and I thought, oh my God, not only is this guy the right guy on film, and the workout numbers are crazy. This guy lives for football. And then listening to him yesterday in the locker room talk to us, it's like, I said, how do you watch the film? Do you watch it with somebody? He's like, I always watch it with my coach, but I'll watch it with some of the veteran players. And then I go home and I watch it on my own. And it's like, wow. So he's special, man. He's a really, really great pick by Lynch and Peters. And I don't know that he's going to play like a Hufanga, as far as his anticipation, efficiency. He's going to make some mistakes. But in some ways, they added a bigger, faster, more physical player than they had.
Well, it was a good day for a secondary. It was a day for a defense where bending, not breaking, was part of the theme of the afternoon. And look, there's some vulnerabilities when, the screen game popped in Jacksonville a little bit. Screen game popped a little bit for Baker Mayfield yesterday. The key to beating the Niners is to get into the second level on the edges. That is the clearly opposing offensive game plan. Get to the second level, but don't do it in the middle of the field where Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are just taking dudes' heads off. You want to go and play on outside of the numbers and let your running game and your screen game pop out there. You can see that is the real estate that offensive coordinators are fighting for when they're playing against the 49ers defense. Just like that. We're in hour number 2 of 49ers Wake Up. If you're just joining us, good morning. A rousing win, a dominant game, a historically significant game from Brock Purdy and Brandon Aiyuk lead the 49ers into the win column in a game that I thought, Larry, they had to have. I'm not a hot take guy. My hot take on Friday was simply this: the loser of this game will not win the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, that applied more to the 49ers. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be in the Super Bowl. I do think the Niners could be. And so that was, it was me basically saying, hey, Niners, if you're going to be who you want to be, you do not blow this game at home against Tampa Bay. You take care of your business, and they did handle their business. And in a game summary, Larry, I really thought that first half saw the Buccaneers in the game really only on the scoreboard. Field goals are good, but touchdowns are better. And the 49ers had to settle for field goals, and that kept Tampa in the game. along with a drive that they get full credit for. Mike Evans, did a nice job. Baker held the ball to the second level of that slant route and touchdown. And now all of a sudden it's 10-7. It's closer than it should be. The second half took the competitive nature of that game on the scoreboard away quickly, and the Niners open up that 20-point lead. And then the Bucs put together that lightning quick drive that they needed. And they got off the field defensively when they needed to. And all of a sudden, that was still a game with about 12 minutes left instead of it being blowout city. The Niners gave up a sack at the wrong time. They had their 3 and out of I think there's only one 3 and out that they had, and it came at the worst possible time in the game. They allowed one of their worst special teams plays of the season on that big punt return, all at the wrong time. And, the Bucs were able to stay in that game when the sun should have set on them earlier in the game. But again, they get paid too, right? 4th and 1, Christian McCaffrey, gets stopped short, and all of a sudden, technically it's still a game here, even though, the Tampa is going to have to score a touchdown, get an onside kick, score another touchdown. So I don't like their chances, but they're still this is still a football game when it should be over right now. But McCaffrey got stuffed on 4th and 1. And I think this is where we're starting to grasp the importance of Brock Purdy, because Christian McCaffrey, look, by any measurement, played well yesterday, but he wasn't great. That wasn't, of all the games that Christian McCaffrey will play this year, we will not talk about the game against Tampa ever again.
And here's the thing. I mean, I'll push back on that too. I watched that game from the binoculars in the upper deck. There were at least 5 runs where there was 0 hole, and somehow McCaffrey made something of it.
He does that every week.
He averaged 3.7 a carry. But man, the holes were not there.
No,
and as far as a receiver, they threw him 5 balls. He caught all 5, but including one for a touchdown.
He always does that. I mean, that's every game he plays. So it's just in all the games that he plays, I don't think there's a lot of memorable, but for the touchdown,
it's over 100 yards and a touchdown.
It is. But he does it every day. I mean, it's every game. I mean, that's all. Steph Curry hit 5 threes tonight. Every game. He does that every game. I thought the best play of the game all day long for the 49ers was that touchdown to McCaffrey from the 3-yard line, where Shanahan's got all the eye candy going to the left corner of the end zone, and Purdy comes out of the backfield through the A gap and is literally all by himself. I mean, that was about as clever of a design, making the linebacker bite on just the little stutter step that he gave to the left, and he comes back to the right. It was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
But Christian McCaffrey, he's just, we're getting spoiled by him, right? We're getting spoiled by how good he is. And I actually thought that it was a game where Kyle tried to come out and play a little bit left-handed. McCaffrey didn't get a touch on that opening drive. It's got to be the first opening drive all year where McCaffrey didn't get a touch. Now, I'm sure he would have had it kept going, and maybe you could say, well, it didn't keep going and you got off the field because you weren't giving McCaffrey the ball. But then we saw Elijah Mitchell get several first half touches. It almost looked like he was getting a series there for a minute. Kyle hasn't shown us that any point in time in the year. And I thought, this bodes well to maybe a 10, 12 carry day for Elijah Mitchell, because, Vita Vea is exactly the kind of guy you don't want landed on top of McCaffrey 9 times today. So maybe it's a day to get into that depth chart a little bit. Not really.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that for a second, because he was asked the question about JP Mason, and he had a kind of a high profile exchange. And I think that Kyle has not been thinking of ways to get Mitchell going or get him off in any way. It was just about, you go in when we need you. So you're running a lot of times when everybody in the place knows we're going to run. So you're running the ball in many non-advantageous positions, and Kyle knew it. So I think he said, you know what? I'm going to run Mitchell a couple times in this game when nobody knows if we're going run or pass. And because I know this kid's a good running back, and I know he's looking better than the numbers show. And I think that's what that was about, because that was the first time we've seen Mitchell, I think, where it wasn't like, okay, they're running out the clock. And here's Mitchell preserving carries or preserving hits from Christian McCaffrey.
Right. First half carries. He's getting first half carries.
First half carries, and also in non-obvious running situations that could be run or pass. And sure enough, he averaged 6 yards a pop. He had a 13-yard run. He had 4 carries for 24 yards. So I think that was partly Kyle saying, hey, look, I put myself out there and told everybody that Mitchell is better than Mason. I've got to now, put Mitchell in a couple of spots for him to succeed so that people stop asking these questions. And I think that's what was going on there. Now, I personally would love to see Mason too, because I think Mason's, to me, he reminds me of a kind of a poor man's Marshawn Lynch. He's big and powerful and explosive and hard to bring down. And I agree that I'd love to see Mason out there, but Mitchell's struggles and his yards per carry are contextual, and Kyle knew it. And that's why he put him in a better context this week to actually have success, as opposed to Mitchell's been taking one for the team most times. And his numbers look awful, but it's mostly situational. Now he averaged 6 yards a carry. Now people are going to be like, oh, yeah, he looks pretty good.
Well, he had that spectacular rookie year. And then, the injury, then Christian McCaffrey, which means you hit the rear view mirror, and that's just the way it goes. He's a talented back. I just think that there needs to be somebody taking 10 carries every Sunday between now and the end of the year who's not named Christian McCaffrey.
I agree.
And that's just to preserve the guy named Christian McCaffrey, because Brock's been great. Brock's been historically good. Without Christian McCaffrey, should he get hurt, that's it, kids. That's where the year wraps up, right there in that injury. If there's ever if Christian McCaffrey is on a cart that isn't a golf cart at any point in time this year, ice cream carts and golf carts are the only carts. Mario Kart, the only carts I want around Christian McCaffrey. Carts are bad news. Seasons end on carts. And the 49ers season of trying to win a Super Bowl would end immediately should there be a cart coming for McCaffrey. So,
it's so funny because people always talk about next man up. But that the reality is the NFL is football's a violent game. Guys go down, but it's about who is the next man up. Have you ever seen Nick Saban in a post-game presser talking about an injury? Nobody seems more unaffected than him. Why? Because the next guy up's a 5-star, who's promising to be even better than the last guy. Same with Kirby Smart in Georgia. We lost this guy to an injury. Yeah, okay, it's really bad, but we got this guy coming in. I mean, the next guy up is so the depth at Georgia, LSU, some of these Alabama, Ohio State. It's endless. So these guys are not worried. In the NFL, was it bad to lose Afonga yesterday? Yeah, it was really bad. But guess what would make it really worse is if you didn't have Ji'Ayir Brown, because you can say next man up for anybody, but if the next guy up is a glorified special teamer who's borderline NFL, then you're screwed. But if the next guy up is a future starter, maybe Pro Bowler in the NFL, you're not screwed. So it's about knowing the talent. And like Seattle, Niners play Seattle on Thanksgiving, a couple days from now. Seattle lost Kenneth Walker. I don't know if you watched that game yesterday. He suffered a significant oblique injury that's going to keep him out Thursday night. So it's next man up. Now, if they didn't draft the UCLA kid, Zach Charbonnet, they'd be cooked. But instead, they've got Zach Charbonnet, and Charbonnet, I think, is probably pretty comparable to Kenneth Walker, so they're not cooked. And they're going to fire a significant effort on Thursday night. But if the next guy up was some special team guy who covers kicks, they would be screwed. So next man up sounds good, and next man up, it's about who is the next man up.
Well, and it's also it's what did the guy who went down do? I mean, next man, this is probably the wrong year to do it, because the next man up in this scenario is Chris Paul, which is a pretty good scenario still. But, like you take Steph Curry off the Warriors, they become like a near non-functional basketball team, right?
Right.
And so that it's even though the next man up is also going to the Hall of Fame, it's still not Steph Curry. No one does what that guy does. No, as good as Elijah Mitchell could ever be, no one does what Christian McCaffrey does. You talk about, the slivers that he got through, and he goes through those every week. It's the old Vince Lombardi run to daylight. This guy runs to slivers of daylight, and he comes out of them, and he's remarkable. McCaffrey's like an accordion. He can expand. He can get big. He can narrow himself up to slip through a crack. He can stiff arm anybody. He can pirouette around you. He can spin his way into the second level. I mean, the guy's just got moves on his moves on his moves on his moves. He's amazing. No one quite runs like him, and it's why he's leading the NFL in rushing, for goodness sakes. So he's so important to what this team does. This is also not a good next man up example, but I can't think of any other scenario. And before the show comes to its end, Larry, where I'm going to have a chance. I'm just thinking about him right now. I want to bring it up. And I especially want you to watch, and I know you've already rewatched the game, but if you, like the sicko you are, watch it a third time.
Right.
On the Elijah Mitchell 16-yard carry around the right end, don't look at Elijah Mitchell. Don't look at anybody else except for Charlie Warner. Charlie Warner had a hell of a game yesterday. He didn't have just a good block. He had two good blocks on the same play. He wiped a guy out and rubbed another guy out on the same play. And I even went back. I'm like, 80. I'm like, who is that? That's not Kittle. Who's 89? I'm like, is that Dwelly or Warner? Who is that? That guy just
Warner is a very good blocker. And that's a great point, Damon, by you, because you look at the box score. You're not going to find Charlie Warner.
Not a target. His name's not in it.
You and I are in that box score as much as he's in that box score. But guess what? The guy is a tenacious, lock-on blocker, and he doesn't blow you up or blow guys out of the hole. It's not like he's like some monster physical. He's just a tenacious, never going to let go. Once he clamps on, he's going to keep driving those legs. And if you turn, he'll turn with you. And he's just a drive blocking menace. And you're right. I mean, he has made and I'm going to talk to him later this week. He has made a significant step forward as a consistent blocking force.
You tell him cousin Brucey saw him. You tell him cousin Brucey saw him. It'll be like, my boy Damon was all over that play. You were fantastic on that play.
They went double tight ends a lot. I'd have to count how many times they had the two tight end formation out there, or personnel grouping out there. But I felt like I saw two tight ends at least 15 plays. And maybe that number is inflated, but it seemed like him and Warner or him and Kittle were out there together. Yeah, a lot. And Warner is a very good blocker.
Well, and look, this is a guy who, look at what Hassan Reddick did it to him. And then look, he missed a block on Hassan Reddick. Have you watched the Eagles? There are a lot of dudes who miss blocks on
No,
Hassan
he didn't miss
Reddick.
that block. That wasn't him. You're talking about the kid from Wisconsin. Maybe the chat remembers. What was the guy's name for Wisconsin, the tight end? Who got, you're talking about the one that caused Brock to get hurt.
Yeah,
that wasn't Charlie. That was Justin whatever. Guys in the chat, who was the tight end who missed the block in the NFC title game last year from Wisconsin?
Croft. Tyler Croft. Okay,
thank you, Malik M, by the way. Tyler Croft. That's a beautiful part about the chat. The chat's so freaking knowledgeable.
Chat
look at all the people in the chat. Croft, Tyler Croft.
Croft spelt like 6 different ways. We got Croft with a K, Croft with a C, Croft with a Z. We got a lot of Crofts out there.
A lot of Crofts.
Nice job, chat room.
That is outstanding chat. I mean, outstanding.
Like the chat, Larry. I wish we could hit a like and subscribe to the chat. Nice job.
We got 1,000 people plus in the house for this show this morning, and the chat is just absolutely locked in.
How are Damon and Larry? But that
chat, their chat is fucking dominant.
Kicking ass, man. It really was. Anyways, Charlie Warner. Nice game, Charlie Warner.
Yes,
we probably talked a little bit too much about Charlie Warner as it is right now, but I thought he had a really good game. Chase Young and Nick Bosa. This is a reawakened line. We saw another look. don't be surprised when these Eric Armstead sacks start piling up on each other. That's coming. You can just feel it, right?
Yeah, Armstead's had a really good year.
Yes.
He's had a very good year. He's so understated, too. He had 3 tackles, 2 solo. He had 1 sack. He had a tackle for a loss. He had 2 hits on the quarterback. The Niners only got 8 hits on the quarterback all day. He had 2 of them. Bosa had 3. Greenlaw got 1. Chase Young had 1. And Isaiah Oliver had 1.
Fred Warner had a hell of a game yesterday. We got everywhere Fred back.
Yeah,
Fred is everywhere. He is absolutely everywhere.
You should have seen the bling that he brought to the presser. Did you? If anybody can go check out bling, go compare Fred's bling with Chase Young's bling. Chase Young had a necklace on yesterday that was like it was so unbelievably shiny. It was crazy. It was the first time I've ever seen a guy do an interview with $1,000 piece of jewelry and a fat lip dip in. I mean, he had the Kopi up top and the bottom tank, and it was a fat dip too. It was just a big old
freaking Lenny Dykstra in there.
I mean, it was a Sparky Lyle freaking dip, and he's got this ridiculous chain that's just shiny as all get out. And then we go to the press room, and Fred Warner had an equally shiny, jewelry on, and the puka shells. Fred 12 tackles, 10 solo, half a sack, 2 passes defensed, almost an interception. Fred's playing unbelievable ball, and he gave me a pretty good answer when I asked him about this week. I said, I asked him, what do you cut out in a short week? Because football's all about preparation. I don't think people realize real football is about the process of football. The process of football is what happens on non-game days. And Fred knows it. And I said, Fred, it's a super short week, and you guys are playing on Thanksgiving. What do you cut out? You're not doing all the same preparation. Something has to be cut out. And he kind of admitted that, in a Thursday turnaround like this, that where they have a short week, that it will be a much more of a streamlined game plan, that they won't have as much in their game plan on either side of the ball as they normally would. So it's really about, they have this infrared room. I wanted to ask him about the infrared. Have you ever seen the infrared?
Yeah, it's a way to take down swelling and help muscles recover. Yes.
I mean, I've never gone in there, but in their side room of their locker room, there's an infrared room with like stalls. And what you do is you got to take all your clothes off except for whatever, and basically you need skin, the skin's got to show. And then it helps you in your recovery. And some guys have infrared rooms in their home. And I know I was talking to Juice about it last year, and he's like, yeah. I said, does it do anything for you? He's like, oh, absolutely. It absolutely does. It just rejuvenates your cells. And I don't know exactly the why it works or how it works exactly, but they'll spend tons of time in the ice tubs, in trying to rehabilitate themselves in the infrared room, getting massages. The Niners have a bunch of different massage therapists on staff. They have all kinds. They got a side room off the locker room where guys get massaged and all their. This is a quick turnaround. I mean, you're playing football. I asked John Feliciano. I said, John, how you feeling? He's like, dude, I'm playing. It's like I'm an NFL veteran. I play guard, and it's like I never feel good in the post game. He's like, I never feel good.
Right.
And because think about it. All the head banging. You're doing tons of it as a guard on every play.
I just clocked in against Vita Vea for the last 3 hours. I don't feel good.
And I said, what do you do to rehabilitate yourself before Thursday, man? That's a quick get around, get back. And he's like, well, first of all, I try to stay off my feet as much as possible. I get in the tubs. I give myself, a big soak, maybe the infrared, maybe, some massage. But I mean, it's all about trying to, and Kyle will say this to the players in the locker room sometimes, like, hey, guys, we got the quick turnaround, get your rest, eat right, all that. That's the obvious, but take care of your body, get your rehabilitation, it's all about getting their quick turnaround, get their bodies ready for the quick turnaround. So ice tubs, whatever their, methods are, infrared, anything you got to do to get ready to go Thursday, do. So that's the mode
I'm
they're
gonna
in.
tell you exactly what the game plan is going to be up in Seattle. I mean, if you're looking for, how about this? I haven't even seen the line. I don't know what it is. Take the under. Take the under. No one's going to want to show you very much. You're not going to get a lot of razzle dazzle on Thursday night. I doubt it'll be a sexy game. It'll be a little bit of a rock fight. And if let's just call it day of game plan is normally 25 pages long. Yeah. On a Thursday night, short week, it's probably only 12 pages long. It is about, let's just do what we're good at. Let's eliminate all the other stuff and just try to go up there and run not 55 plays successfully. Let's run 30 plays as best as we can. And the minute we get to the end of 30, we'll go back to number one and do it again and again. I think that's what you have to do on a short week. And then the only nice thing about this short week is it will give them just an eensy-weensy little bit of an advantage going into Philadelphia because they will have a couple more days. And again, Kyle Shanahan is tweaking a game plan right up into the hour of kickoff. So if you have Kyle getting 48 more hours to play with, that can be the difference between winning and losing in Philadelphia. I really mean it.
Do you want to guess the spread? I used to play this game with Tommy T. It was unbelievable how great he was at guessing the spread. I mean, I'd be like, Tolbert, you can guess the spread better than any freaking person in the world. I mean, it's amazing. He had the thing down. He was always within like a half point.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess the spread?
Do that and play guess the ratings, I guess. Anyways.
Oh, come on now.
All right, here we go.
That's a low blow.
Going into, hey, I won. What can I tell you? We're talking about Thursday night.
Niners Seahawks. There's 3 games, by the way, on Turkey Day. Our viewing, and I love Thanksgiving.
It's my favorite holiday.
I mean, between football and food. I mean, and mom used to get up. My mom's no longer with us, but she used to get up early, put the bird in the oven because we would eat at like 2:00.
Early Thanksgiving.
So I mean, if you're eating at 2:00, I mean, you got to get up and put that bird in.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'd always have so many people at the house. It would be like 23-pound turkey, and I loved. Man, if I could bring my parents back to life for one day, it would be a Thanksgiving day, because Thanksgiving at the Krueger house, with the way my mom could cook, was absolutely magical smelling, magical everything. And I remember, my parents used to be like, entertain the grandparents, because like there's so much work to be done food wise. It's like, don't you go upstairs and disappear on your computer or go play basketball with your brother. You talk to grandma and grandpa while we're in here cooking. But yeah, we have Green Bay, Detroit minus 7.5 at home against Green Bay. Washington, Dallas, traditional Thanksgiving, Dallas minus 11.
All right, let me guess.
Niners at Seattle. What's the spread?
Niners minus 3.5.
Niners minus 6.5.
Ooh. Okay.
That surprised me too. I would have said closer to what you were saying. I was thinking before I looked at it, I'm like, what do I expect to see? And I thought it was going to be Niners minus 4. Niners minus 4.5. Niners minus 6.5. Wow.
That means
big spread, man.
You know what that means? That means Las Vegas believes in Brock Purdy, which means it's time to look out. Okay.
By the way, we have Black Friday football this year for the first time. Miami and the Jets. I'm so tired of the Jets. God, I don't want to watch any more Jets. Put me out. Shoot me with the Jets. I mean, I don't want any more Jets.
We don't need any more football teams from New York.
I just don't want to see the Jets anymore. It's like the Jets. I mean, I understand it was all about Aaron Rodgers, but man, I mean, flex them the hell out of that. I mean, I'm so sick. I watched Jets Raiders. I watched Jets the week before. I've seen more of the Jets than I'd ever want to see. I've seen enough Jets for like 3 lifetimes.
Yeah, I don't need any more Jets.
I really don't. I mean, I don't want to see any more Alan Lazard limping, Zach Wilson and his bandana. I mean, it's just Robert Saleh and his beard on the bottom and shaved head up top.
What is with that dye job on his beard too?
I know, that is so bizarro.
What is he doing? I don't. What's that look for?
You were Mr. Clean, and now you added a beard, and it's like if you add a beard, let it go, or organic. Instead, he's dyeing it jet black. It looks like his head like shifted or something.
I was out
Weird.
at a bar with a buddy of mine, and he's like, Damon, you're old, but you actually look older than you are because you got this gray up here and you're gray here. And he's like, why don't you dye that? I said, well, number one, this is what self-confidence looks like. Number two, I'm married.
I'm already married.
I'm married. What am I pretending I'm younger and fresher for who? Jillian? She's not going to fall for it. She knows. She would go out and she would buy the dye.
But I know what he's saying. Because turn your head sideways. See, your hair's brown, but your beard is white.
I know.
And I have it going a little bit too.
It's
I don't let
coming
it get
in
too
now.
long. But I'm more salt and pepper. So then I've got the my whole thing is I'll shave. I go
I've
shave.
never seen you with any facial hair, Larry. I've never seen you with a beard or a goatee or a mustache or anything.
Oh yeah, I'll always go with a little chin fuzz. But I don't like it. It makes my face feel oily, so I like to shave. But I do go heavy fade. I just got a fade the other day. You see my fade?
Nice. Very nice.
I told the guy I want some white walls. Give me some white walls.
Diamond in the back, sunroof top.
I took the kids for a cut the other day. My kid said to the guy, I almost cried. He's like, "Can I have a mullet?" I'm like, "Oh my God, a mullet? Really? You want
Kentucky
a mullet?"
Waterfall?
He's like, "Yeah." He's like, I play baseball. I got to have some back flow. He's like, "I got to have some flow back here."
I appreciate that. I think I can appreciate that.
Seriously.
Look, the 76-yard touchdown from Purdy to Aiyuk is the biggest touchdown pass in the NFL so far this year. Brandon Aiyuk gets an awful lot of credit. Jamal Dean, he fell down. He got hurt on that. Aiyuk had Jamal Dean reaching for his ankle twice yesterday.
Right.
When he got burnt early, and that was pass interference. And then the play, I don't think Dean returned. Did he? After that injury?
And he's not a Jamal. He's a Jamel.
Jamel, thank you very much.
Yes.
Jamel Dean. Look,
Purdy, who was great yesterday for them? Yaya Diaby.
He did have a really good game.
Yaya Diaby, my goodness. Have a game. The rookie from Louisville was everywhere.
He had a really good game.
Antoine Winfield, by the way, 16 tackles for Tampa. How great is Antoine? I'll tell you, most underrated father-son combination in the history of the NFL. Antoine Winfield Sr., Antoine Winfield Jr. Senior played for the Buckeyes and played for the Vikings. Super strong corner. Had a great NFL career.
Yeah.
Not a superstar, but just a really, really good, solid NFL corner. And his kid is just awesome, man. Antoine Winfield Jr. is the man.
Larry, let's hit some super chats. What do you got going on? What have you collected so far in the show?
We just have 3 today. We got this one from Elite Archer 23. Larry, you defend Grant because he's helped you, but at what point does integrity come into play? Birds of a feather flock together, they say. We live in an opinion world, right? People give opinions. And I'll say this. I don't need to agree with every one of my friends, and I don't need to agree with every opinion maker. He's got his opinions. That's why he's got a huge audience. I've got my opinions. That's why I've got a huge audience. Damon's got his opinions. That's why he's got a huge audience. I mean, everybody's got opinions. So I don't need to align my, I don't call, I never call you and say, Damon, let's make sure that our opinions align. It's like, no, we don't talk about our opinions aligning. I've never done that with any host ever.
But the reason why we do a good show together is because we know what we're talking about. And I guess the point over here is, how much can you stick with someone who has proven beyond the measure of the doubt they don't even know what they see? Like, there's a reason why I don't host a podcast about the guiding light. It's because I've never seen a single episode of The Guiding Light.
What is that? Is that a soap opera?
Soap opera. Yeah.
Is it still going?
It's like The Young and the Restless, The Guiding Light, General Hospital, whatever the law. I've never seen a single soap opera ever. That's why I don't host a podcast called Let's Talk About the Soaps.
I had a roommate in college who used to be the ultimate machismo, and then he would watch All My Children every day.
There you go. But I guess the point is here is you got somebody who's literally
Dude, Johnny, what are you doing?
But still not knowing what they see. I mean, so
yeah, it's once again, it's all opinions. So, I mean, I love Grant because Grant is a good guy who helped me out at my lowest point, and do we agree on everything? No, we stream once a week, and you hear us disagreeing because I don't agree with everything he says. He doesn't agree with everything I say, and that's just fine. That's just fine. And as far as integrity goes, integrity has more to do with who you are, I think, when people aren't looking, than it is about your opinion on the secondary or blitzing or Kyle or Brock. So that's how I see it. I mean, you want to believe what you want to believe. You want to think what you want to think. Go for it. We may not align, but I'm not going to turn on Grant because I don't agree with his football takes. After he helped me at one of my lowest confidence moments. And, I'm loyal that way. I'm just not going to do it, but I understand. I'm also not going to tell Elite Archer that, you're wrong for not liking Grant. If you want to not like Grant, don't like him. That's fine. I got no problem with that. That's what makes the world go around. Again, that's why I used to love Baskin and Robbins. There's 31 flavors.
Look, if you want to watch the Fox News of 49er broadcasts, then go ahead. He's perfect for you. It's all propaganda. None of it's based in reality. It's got a lot of
Damon's broken another rule of mine. I don't talk race, I don't talk religion, and I don't talk politics. So there you go. Gizmo Maltese says, why isn't Debo getting more touches?
Debo can't get much separation. And whenever he's in the backfield coming around his little razzle dazzle, all eyes are on him. So he's not really surprising anyone.
I would say wait until Thursday night. I think when you have a quick turnaround, I think Kyle's saving Debo because Debo's a run through you, not run around you guy. So I think Kyle's saving Debo for Thursday night. I think you're going to see a big Debo performance on Thursday night. That's what I would say. I think he almost intentionally kind of kept him because a lot of Debo's touches, Damon, are about schemed. Like, here you go. We're gonna call an end around to Debo. Okay, that's not like, is Debo going to get open on the end around? It's an end around to Debo. So a lot of his things are like called from Kyle. And there weren't a lot yesterday. So
39-yard completion that he had to Debo, it just felt like broken coverage.
Right. So I think Thursday night, you're going to see a lot of schemed stuff to Debo. I think you may even see some schemed stuff to Ray. I would not be surprised if they get chunk yardage plays off both those guys. Greg Argisi says, why didn't Kyle use Juice or Mason on 4th and 1? Yeah, I mean, Mason is like, active but inactive. I mean, he's like, I don't know what to say about Mason at this point. As far as Juice, yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to this question, Greg. We had Kyle sitting here. We could ask him exactly how it all came down, but and sometimes there's like a method to his madness, and sometimes there's not. Have you noticed that? Like sometimes he'll have like a total well-developed answer for why he used a certain player, and then other times it's like there's no real reason. I just went with it. So I don't know. It could mean everything. It could reveal a philosophy, or it could literally mean nothing. So those are the supers. Those are the supers out of the sheet.
Geez, we usually have an awful lot more than that.
Usually we're quite a bit. People are saving their money for Thanksgiving.
Right. That's all right. So you only you didn't see any other? I haven't been looking at the chat at all. I've been unoccupied by it. So
we've been getting all kinds of. We got all kinds of people commenting on your Fox News. People. We got this one from. This is kind of interesting. From Joe G. Says Greenlaw will be punching out on Thanksgiving, meaning that he won't be playing. I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
If you punching out meaning not playing, like he's like they're going to lean on somebody else. That would be my one big concern about the 49ers is they lean so heavily on Fred and Dre in the run stop game that God, you got to make sure those guys. I mean, if the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl, what has to happen? They have to get to the playoffs with like 5 or 6 key guys intact and fresh and ready. Dre, Fred, Nick, Christian, George, right? I mean, those 5, Trent, those 6 guys have got to be fresh, ready, and going in the playoffs, or there's probably no chance.
You're right, but I like starting linebackers don't take games off. I mean, I if they wanted to do it in an abundance of caution for Dre Greenlaw, who's always battling injury, they want to throw D Winter out there. Wasn't he unable to go yesterday? Wasn't he a scratch in that game?
Who's that? Who you asking?
The backup linebacker.
Jalen Graham. Yeah, he was inactive.
Oh, Graham was inactive.
Yeah, he was inactive. The inactives for the 49ers yesterday, let me see, I think I had this. The inactives yesterday were Braden Willis, Brandon Allen, Aaron Banks, Ty Davis-Price, Kalia Davis, and Jalen Graham. So I think Jalen Graham's a great young player.
If it's not Dre Greenlaw, it's going to be D Winters. So
yeah,
is that what's going to happen?
At least until, who knows how the thing shakes down in a month. The other guy we didn't see that was active yesterday was Darrell Luter. We didn't see Darrell Luter. And I thought Luter, I'm eager to see, are the Niners going to sign Jason Verrett today or tomorrow? There was a lot of speculation on Friday that was going to come down possibly today. We'll find out. Maybe Kyle will announce that later on today.
I've always liked Jason Verrett. Like, he's never played poorly. He's just always been injured.
Exactly. Jason Verrett, when he worked out the other day, Damon, supposedly Lynch said there were 7 or 8 49ers that came out of the locker room to watch his workout because there's so much respect for JV and what he has given, the Niners as far as leadership. He has the world's greatest feet. So when you have the ability to run and you have great feet, I mean, he has Pro Bowl corner kinds of movement ability. And so it's, as you said, it's all about the health, and he hasn't been healthy. So, and obviously they, I think he wanted to be here because, he was on Houston's practice squad. He asked them to release him off their practice squad. The next day he hopped a flight and was working out for the 49ers. So I think, this was somehow choreographed behind the scenes to get Verrett out here, and we'll see if he can make an impact. It would be an incredible story if he could stay healthy, because if that kid can stay healthy, I mean, he's probably 32 at this point. You're talking about a guy who could absolutely help you win the Super Bowl. He's that good of a cover guy. He can mirror NFL receivers up and down the field. He's got that kind of movement ability, that kind of footwork.
He also hasn't even been on an NFL field for over a year and a half, though, right? I mean, it's a big ask.
It's a major question, but that also goes to show that, NFL personnel people keep track of who can cover, and they, it's a very select list. And it's like, if you're on it, the phone's going to ring no matter how many times you get hurt. If you're not on it, then you need not apply. He's on that list.
You got a couple more supers to come in you want to get to, and then I want to kind of bounce around the league and talk about.
Yeah, let's do that. Mike Baker jumps in. He says, Larry, you have a ton of integrity. Grant is Grant. I enjoy his content, but he does frustrate me and others sometimes. But I enjoy your shows together. But this show is becoming my favorite. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. I think that's well said. I mean, Grant's Grant, and nobody should try to change him. Frank Mello. Hey, Frank. He says, any chance that Danny Gray gets on the field in Seattle? And if so, what kind of role will he have? Kyle just told us last week that Danny Gray is ready to roll. So they're just waiting for, he's on the IR. He can be activated, and he's designated to return. There's limits to the number of guys that can return. So that's part of the equation here. And maybe they're trying to preserve that as long as possible to give themselves more options. But I'll say this, Danny Gray, I know nobody, you guys haven't been to practice, so you're not watching what I'm seeing necessarily. But Danny Gray is noticeably stronger than he was last year. And he, I think, has the potential to really make an impact on this team. I mean, a major impact. He's more than just a track guy with some speed. He's actually got ball skills and can run routes. He's had a hard time staying healthy, as we all know. But Danny Gray can make an impact. He absolutely can. He's easily the fastest guy on the team, and he's a significant receiver if they can get him out there.
Let me just say, I hope you're right, Larry. He is
you're skeptical.
He's a rumor until he's not. All Danny Gray is a rumor. I don't even believe he's an actual person that exists. He's a rumor.
Well, I'll tell you this. I talked to him, and I said, Danny, when are we going to see you get on the field? He's like, I don't know, but I'm getting ready. And another guy who I talked to yesterday, who I love, and I'm huge talent, and as far as I'm concerned, is Drake Jackson. And Drake's getting healthy, working his way back. A lot of people don't think Drake's coming back this year. I'd say he might. He might come back. But I said to Danny Gray, I said, when are we going to see that touchdown dance? Because he's been claiming that he has an all-time touchdown dance.
All right, so I don't want to see it. I don't want to see an all-time touchdown dance on your first touchdown ever. I don't want to see it. Just score. How about this?
I told him, I got to see it, man. I got to see the touchdown dance.
I don't want to see his touchdown. I want to see him. How about this? Let's see. I want to hear you activated before we talk about your touchdown dance. What, are you kidding me? Come on.
He's got an all-timer. DJ Dunham. There we go. DJ Dunham. Super sticker.
Hey,
super sticker.
I don't know what I don't know what the super sticker is or what it does, but thank you.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the park hopper from Disneyland where you don't have to wait in line. You just have the super sticker.
Oh,
excuse me, sir. I've got the super sticker. Thank you.
All right. Well, then right this way.
Right this way.
Right to the front of the comments you go.
Have you? What's that? We should talk about that sometime. What's the greatest line that you ever jumped because of either a reservation status, whatever, a buddy, where you absolutely were like, where people are almost booing as you're walking in. For me, I ran into when KMBR sent me to Vegas for one of the fights. It was like a De La Hoya fight or Felix Sturm, or I forget who it was. It was maybe Tito Trinidad. We're staying at the Mandalay Bay. The guy comes to our broadcast from the Mandalay Bay. And he's like, yeah, I do a number of roles here at the Mandalay Bay. And, so he's telling us all about it on the radio on Friday with me and Ralph. Craig, I don't want to go to Vegas. You go to Vegas. Tate and I got plans on Saturday. So I'm like, all right. Tommy can't go this week. He's already been there. So I'm talking to the guy from Vegas, from the Mandalay Bay. And welcome to the Mandalay Bay. We have 9 different restaurants here in the facility. All this stuff. We do a whole segment on KMBR about the Mandalay Bay. And he goes, and also I work the door at the Rum Jungle, and feel free to, stop by. It's really happening on Friday nights. So before he leaves, I go, hey, that's tonight. I go, can you hook me up in the Rum Jungle? He's like, well, I'm glad you mentioned it because the line will be out the door and around the lobby of the hotel, and it'll be impossible to get in tonight. It's a huge night at the Rum Jungle. Friday nights are huge. And I'm like, great. Can you get me on the list? He's like, absolutely. So he writes down my name. It's 9:00. I go downstairs. The guy wasn't lying, Damon. There had to be 700 people in line. I mean, just a massive line. And so I wasn't sure if he was going to get me in or not. So I went to the door and I asked for him. He wasn't there. So now I tell the door guy, I'm like, well, if the guy comes back, his name was whatever, can you tell him that Larry Krueger's in the line? And if he could get me, that'd be great. Me and my buddy. And he's like, sure, Mr. Krueger. So now I'm in the back of the line, and the guy was just like on his dinner break or something like that. So now he's back from his dinner break. He comes back and he's looking. We've only met one time, so he's kind of looking around. He doesn't recognize anybody. Finally, I see him. I'm like, hey, I kind of raise my hand. I'm like, I'm still like 640 people. He's like, Mr. Krueger. I'm like, yes. He's like, come with me, sir. And he like takes me and my buddy, and I might have been my brother, and he walks us to the front, and people are literally going, hey, what the hell? Hey.
That's not a hot chick with D cups. How'd that guy get to the
Hey,
front
why's
of the line?
that guy jumping the line? Hey, people were pissed at the Rum Jungle.
So
Anyway.
my best jump the line experience is also in Las Vegas, but it involves us making fun of Herschel Walker while we're walking past him. I can't remember the name of the club. I think it was at the Wynn, and you go downstairs. You have to walk down this descending staircase. I think the name of the club was Trist or something like that.
I think I've heard of that.
And then you walk through like this mirrored hallway, like you feel like you're walking into an episode of Entourage, right? Like like it's a dark, narrow tunnel, and at the end of it, it's just blinking, thumping nightclub waiting for you. Boom, 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 boom. And while we're going down the stairs, it's literally like Herschel Walker and oh God, who else was it? But on our way down, my buddy Sherm was like, hey Herschel, a few more yards, you might be in the club already too, but we'll let you know how it is when we get in there.
Talking trash to Herschel.
Talking shit to Herschel Walker. My friend Sherman also is a guy who got thrown out of an all-star game at Three Rivers Stadium for heckling Kirby Puckett. I'm like,
the late Kirby Puckett?
I'm like, who heckles Kirby Puckett? He's like, me on about 5 Iron Cities. So that's my boy, Sherm, heckling Kirby Puckett at an all-star game for no reason at all.
No reason at all. The great Kirby Puckett, who was 5'8", maybe?
It's
5'7".
It was really, really nice to hop a line in Vegas. You do feel cool there for just a moment. And then later on in life, you're just excited when you get sat early at the buffet. So that's the aging process right there. Larry, hell of a Monday Night Football game tonight. Eagles and Chiefs. We're talking 8-1 and 4-1 on the road in Philadelphia. And the Chiefs are 7-2. They're 4-1 at home. You've got two of the single best quarterbacks in football, two of the better head coaches in football going at it. A Super Bowl review and possible preview. And how you looking at this one going down at Arrowhead tonight?
Oh man, this is going to be.
If you're a Niner fan, you're a Chief fan tonight. It's just that simple.
It's Chiefs minus 2.5. The over/under is 45.5. Eagles are coming off the bye. Chiefs are coming back from a win in Germany, and then a bye of their own. So you got both teams coming off the bye, and
Andy Reid off a bye week is almost undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, I have that number in front of me actually. Andy Reid. How about this? This is an amazing stat. Kansas City or Andy Reid is 21-3 coming off a bye. So I'm going to go.
That's coaching, kids.
Also, you got Jalen Hurts, who's battling left knee pain. Kansas City is second in the NFL in points allowed. The Eagles will not have Dallas Goedert. It's at Arrowhead. Give me the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs. I think the game's going to be good. I think it's an overplay, though. If you said to me, like, how would you bet this game? I would tease the Chiefs to the over. So what does that mean? I like to play the 7.5 point teaser. So with the 7.5 point teaser, it would be Chiefs +5. And then I would tease it down from 45.5 to 38.5 and go over. So that's how I'm betting it. I'm going to bet Chiefs +5 over 38.5. Chiefs on the teaser to the over.
I thought that the single most consequential game of the entire week was the first game we saw on Thursday night. The Joe Burrow season-ending injury is significant. It felt like the Bengals were about to climb back into the AFC's conversation. They will not be climbing without Joe Burrow being able to use his hand, obviously. That's just a monster injury. I do think also, Larry, that the whole are the Bengals in trouble for not disclosing an injury thing is so ridiculously overblown. There is a play where he clearly got rolled up on and he hurt his hand in the game. The fact that he was wearing a compression sleeve coming off of an airplane is irrelevant. There are all kinds of guys wearing compression sleeves on airplanes to prevent swelling that are not part or parcel of an injury report. I wear compression socks on airplanes because it's good for circulation, and I don't, I'm old, so I don't think that there's any there to the Bengals were trying to cheat the system. And look, I'm as skeptical a guy as there is, but I've seen the play that Joe Burrow got hurt on. He rolled up his hand, and that's where he broke it.
Yeah, I mean, when they beat the Niners a couple weeks ago, I thought, man, the Bengals are a Super Bowl team.
Here they come.
And the speed on defense, and then the pass rush they have, DJ Reader, Burrow, those weapons, Jamar Chase. I mean, the run game looked like it was coming together. I thought, man, the Bengals. I don't know if the Bengals or the Bills. I mean, you could argue that Burrow and Josh Allen are, the second and third best quarterbacks in the game. You could make the argument. Other people have. They're not going to even make the playoffs. Neither of those teams are probably going to make the playoffs. Buffalo's 6-5.
Yep.
They probably don't make the playoffs. If you looked at their schedule, they got a hellacious schedule. They're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, this is what Buffalo's got left on the schedule. Tell me what you think they're going to do in this little run. They've got Philly at Philly. Then they go bye week. Then they go at Kansas City. Then Dallas. Then at Chargers. Then New England. That's a win. Then at Miami. They're not making the playoffs. No way. No way. They're going to easily lose 2 or 3 more games there. They're not beating Kansas City, Chargers, Dolphins on the road. They couldn't beat Denver at home. I mean, it's like they beat the Jets yesterday, but they're not. So Buffalo's not going to go to the playoffs, I don't think. And Cincinnati's not going to go to the playoffs. So if you're Kansas City, you're feeling great. I mean, if you're a Chief fan, I mean, it's basically, to me, the AFC playoffs are going to be, Chiefs or Ravens are the chalk. And then you've got the young crew, whether it be Jacksonville with Lawrence, maybe the Browns, if they, somehow could pull an upset, and then Houston. Houston's 6-4. They've won 3 in a row.
CJ Stroud I was complimenting him, saying this guy's having one of the greatest rookie years I've ever seen. And then he threw 3 interceptions, but they still won. And he's still having a monstrous rookie year. CJ Stroud is. Texans, more interesting than anyone thought that they possibly could be. The Rams beating the Seahawks. Again, good news for the 49ers rolling into Seattle. They're going to be licking their wounds after a loss. Rams off of a bye. Scored 10 unanswered to win 17-16 at SoFi over Seattle yesterday. So
yesterday, by the way, Damon, my luckiest bet of all time. I took a 3-team teaser. I took Buffalo minus 1 against the Jets. Well, that covered easy. They won 32-6. I took the Dolphins minus 6 against the Raiders.
Won by 7.
They won by 7, and it was lucky. I mean, they that easily couldn't have covered. And I had the Lions minus 1 against the Bears. And I'm seriously, I'm watching. The Bears are up 26. Was it 26-21 or something like that?
26-14.
26-14 with 4:20 to play. And they wind up losing 31-26. What happened to the Bears in the final moments of the fourth quarter there. How do you go? What'd you say it was? 26-14?
Yeah.
And they give up
lose
17
31-26.
points in the last 4 minutes of the game?
Yeah. No, I'll tell you what happened. Dan Campbell came out and he started snacking.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
I will beat your ass.
There you go.
Come on, Deese. Deese nuts.
And there is no doubt that the
What
Bears
happened in that game?
You know what I think happened is that Justin Fields scored a touchdown and he did a little dance. And that fired up the Detroit Lions a little bit. They just collapsed, man. Never put a collapse beyond the Chicago Bears ever in your life. It's what they do. It's who they are. So
was there a turnover at the end there? Must have had to be. Had to be a turnover.
So honestly, I'm bailing out with Jillian. I'm trying to get ready when I saw that they lost, I didn't even go back to bother. Like, that's how much the Bears are pissing me off. I'm done. I've broken faith with them. They
Fields threw no picks, so it wasn't picks. I didn't watch it because I was walking from the Santa Clara Hilton into the game, but literally I went and I signed off with, hey, and the Bears have pulled the upset against the Lions. They're up 26-14, and the Chicago's got the ball, and it's 4 minutes and 20 seconds left. The Bears are going to hand the Lions their third loss of the year. I get to my seat, and I'm like, hey, how about that Bears win over the Lions? And people are like, no, man, the Lions came back and won. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How?
Well, let's see. So the
17 points.
The Bears' final offensive possession was a one-play drive, minus 25 yards. It was a safety. So whatever happened there, it was glorious. There was a 3-and-out and a punt. Basically, it's
a gag, man.
It's a gag. Yeah. When the Lions needed 2 touchdowns, they scored 2 touchdowns as it was field goal, punt, safety for the Bears. So settling for field goals instead of scoring touchdowns is a good way to lose a football game, and that happened in Detroit.
Where are you with Justin Fields, by the way? Justin Fields was 16-23 for 169 and 1 touchdown, sacked twice. But then he also ran 18 times for 104 yards. I'd be really afraid to trade him because come on, man. If he ever figures it out on a good team, I mean, he's the level of runner that is just, he's an amazing runner.
He's one of those, Larry, this is exactly what we started the show talking about in terms of athletic gifts, guy who has to work hard for everything. And I'm not saying that Justin Fields isn't a hard worker, but he can lean on athletic gifts that allow him to have these gaudy rushing performances where Brock Purdy never was able to lean on those gaudy rushing performances. So he learned how to stay in the pocket and negotiate a collapsing pocket and be brave in a collapsing pocket and keep your eyes downfield in a collapsing pocket. And that's why Brock Purdy is 100 times the quarterback Justin Fields could ever be, because he just learned how to play the position where Justin Fields was always on a superior team where his superior athleticism could bail him out of trouble. And again, Justin Fields is modern Michael Vick. Spectacular athlete, does 4 or 5 things in a football game that make you go, there's not a lot of guys that could ever do that. But is he going to win a Super Bowl? Decidedly that answer at this point in time is no. But it's not just him either. There is a serious deficit of talent on that Bears team. And they're going to have one of the top 3 picks in the draft. You know, I mean, it's kind of who they are. So,
and will they go with Caleb? I'll say this though, man. If the Bears wanted to move Justin Fields, and I was a team that didn't have a quarterback but had a really good quarterback coach, or I'd trade for him. I'd trade for him because he's got 4.4 flat speed. He's super dynamic, and when he does throw the ball, he's pretty accurate. So it's not like he's got some nice traits to work with there. And obviously there's some development that needs to happen.
I think in the right situation, he'd be a better player. He's in a situation in Chicago that ruins quarterbacks. Historically, there is no franchise. Do you realize that the Chicago Bears have yet to have a 4,000-yard passer in franchise history?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's never happened.
Even when they won, I mean, they had Jim McMahon. Who are if you say greatest quarterbacks in Bears history? Who's on
That
who's
list
on the
doesn't
list?
exist.
Does Cade McNown come to town?
Y.A. Tittle.
Yeah, seriously. Y.A. Tittle. Dazza says, do you think the 49ers have a shot at the 1 seed? Looks like it's between the Lions and the Eagles. Well, the Niners do have a shot.
Sid Luckman is.
Okay. Yeah, I had him on my fantasy team. Yeah. If the Niners beat, if the Niners beat, first of all, I think the Lions have the best chance at the 1 seed. I know the Eagles right now are in the driver's seat, but I think the Eagles lose tonight. And I think the Niners can beat the Eagles. So then that would mean if the Niners ran the table, and that's a big if too, because they got the Ravens on Christmas night, which is going to be a hellaciously tough game to win. But the Niners would be
made a little bit easier with that Mark Andrews injury, though. Andrews done for the year.
I know. But look at the Lions' schedule. Here's the Lions' schedule. Now the Lions
they got like 5 wins in a row lined up for them right here, right now.
They're 8-2, but they play Green Bay at home.
Should be a win.
At the Saints.
Should be a win, but that's a tough game because it's in New Orleans.
At the Bears.
Win.
But that could be a tough game too, actually. I mean, heck, they barely could beat the Bears yesterday.
Win.
Broncos. At
kind of playing a little bit better, but that should be a win.
At Minnesota.
Win.
At Dallas.
Loss.
And then home against Minnesota in week 17.
Again, unless they're playing for a 1 seed, that might be sit everybody.
Right. But I'm just saying that they far and away have the easiest schedule. Far and away. So the road to the Super Bowl, if Kansas City gets it done tonight and the Niners can win in Philly, the road to the Super Bowl may go through Detroit. How about that? Trip to Motown.
Could happen. Could happen. And if the 49ers, look at it this way, the choice between playing in Detroit or playing in Philadelphia is no choice at all. You take that game in Detroit if you can't host it, right? I mean, they're outside of the 49ers getting a 1 seed. Detroit getting the 1 seed is the second best thing.
Okay, if I told you had to bet the Super Bowl, but you couldn't take the chalk, and I'll say the chalk is Eagles, Chiefs, and Niners, because that's the chalk right now in Vegas. Are you going Detroit?
I would again, there is something in Detroit's DNA that I don't care what kind of year they're having, how much I like what I see, how good their offensive line is. It's the Detroit Lions. The next time they win a big game, I mean, their season opening win in Kansas City is honestly one of the 3 greatest wins in franchise history. And that's just a regular season opener in week 1. The minute the Lions win a big game will be the first time in my life that the Lions have won a big game. So I'm not betting on it happening. I would take the Dallas Cowboys.
Really? Over Cleveland, over Houston, over Detroit, over Baltimore.
I would take the Dallas Cowboys, and if I needed an AFC dark horse, I would go with either Jacksonville or Miami.
Okay. Miami's another team that hasn't really beaten any good teams.
No, but here they are with a pretty damn good record and a whole bunch of talent, and they snuffed out the Raiders yesterday, who, look, get a lot of credit for being a better football team than they were just 3 weeks ago. They really are. They really
shows
are.
You how McDaniels is just a fraud.
Well, and it also shows you that Aiden O'Connell is a little bit more of a spot to believe in than Jimmy Garoppolo represented. You know,
he threw 3 picks yesterday.
Still, though, I like him more than Garoppolo. And if you're a Raider fan, you should, because it's better to find out what you got with him than knowing what Jimmy is, just seeing it over and over again. So Antonio Pierce has got that team feeling itself a little bit. They were, they lose by 7 against a team that, earlier this year dropped 70. So I think that's the Dolphins are good. Again, the whole, like, they haven't beaten anybody. Well, they're 7-3. So they've beaten 7 other NFL teams. If beating 7 other NFL teams was an easy thing to do, there'd be a lot more 7-win teams out there. So it's a tough league. Even the teams that aren't good are still hard to beat.
Bay
So-
Area says, I'd rather go to Detroit than Philly in the NFC championship game. This is the 49ers' year to win it. They better get it done. Well, here's the other thing about it. There's always upsets. There's always, you never know. Just keep playing. Just keep playing. A bunch of 1-week seasons.
Here's the one thing that we haven't talked about at all. And, I know that it was, what do you think about Jake Moody? I haven't heard his name in a few weeks because he's not missed any of his field goals. Well, he nearly missed that one. Field goals that you nearly miss are still worth 3 points, just like the ones that go right down the middle. And he was right down the middle yesterday. He hasn't missed a kick from inside the 40 yet in his career, and nor should he. NFL kicker shouldn't be missing those kicks. But I thought that Jake Moody should have an awful lot of doubt, if there was creeping any in, sort of removed. I think the 49ers kicking game between Moody and Wisnowski is in very good shape.
I agree. Wisnowski's pinning teams inside the 20 with regularity, and Mooney's got a big leg, and hopefully he can handle the pressure that comes with playoff football. Hopefully it won't come down to a kick. It's just really it's simple as that. Niners, I'll say this. I've talked to the kid a few times, and I really am impressed with how solid he is. So he's either going to get it done or he's not, but it won't be because he's like some kind of mental midget. He's not. He doesn't lack confidence. He's not nervous. He's pretty.
Right.
He's pretty solid.
The missed field goal in Cleveland is not haunting him.
Right. He's just a solid. He's a solid kicker. I mean, he's going to be their kicker for years to come. But the idea though that Robbie Gould didn't want to kick went out the window when he tried out 3 weeks ago for the New York Giants. So Robbie Gould did want to kick, and he's 38 for 38 in the playoffs in his career. And the Niners, firmly in their Super Bowl window, almost guaranteed to be a playoff team, went with a rookie kicker over a guy who's 38 for 38 in the playoffs. So hopefully we don't see that stat in any printed reports later this year.
Right.
Because if it does, it means that Mooney missed some big kicks.
It was a good game yesterday, Larry. It's one that when the season is over, we will not look back at. We will not call it a turning point the way that Jacksonville felt like a turning point win for the 49ers. It was a handle your business at home afternoon, and the Niners were able to handle their business. And in doing so, Brock Purdy had a historically significant afternoon where he becomes among 3 quarterbacks under the age of 24 to ever finish with a perfect passer rating in the game. He is one of 3 49er quarterbacks that has ever finished an afternoon with a perfect passer rating. The other guys' names are Joe and Steve. And for someone who got off to an incredible start at the beginning of his career, he hasn't really diverted off that path. I did a video last night called Stock Purdy, and there's no such thing as linear growth. There's no such thing as a career that only does this with no dip in improvement. Brock is about as close as we have ever seen, though. Again, the 3-game losing streak was inglorious, but he played pretty damn well in 2 of those 3 games. And in the game he didn't play well in, Moody's missed kick is a big reason why they lost. So what we're seeing out of Brock Purdy, as we kind of wrap this one up here, Larry, is significant. It's fun. It's inspirational. It is a testament to when the right quarterback is in the right situation with the right coach, good things can happen. And if you want to, say that that's a system quarterback, I don't even care anymore. For those whose constant craving of moving the field goals to make sure that Brock Purdy can never hit them, it's funny. I keep on hearing, well, you put Brock Purdy on the Carolina Panthers, you're not getting this. Okay. Guess what? You put Patrick Mahomes on the Carolina Panthers, you ain't getting that. You know what I mean? Like there are some teams that are so up against it that one guy showing up doesn't change everything that dramatically. Brock Purdy has what I believe are universally translatable quarterbacking skills. And if, your hypothesis is that, well, Patrick Mahomes has so much raw talent that he could show up anywhere and make that team better, I would say that Brock Purdy has a level of quarterbacking awareness and accuracy that should he show up anywhere, that team would get better. Like, I think that formula applies to him too. It's a different calculation, but it equals Brock Purdy on any team might make that team better.
Well, we saw this, by the way. Mahomes lost the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay. He lost. Why'd he lose? Because he didn't have a good enough offensive line. They couldn't block Tampa Bay. So
the other guy playing quarterback that day was pretty good.
Yeah. But I mean, they lost because they didn't have their offensive line and they couldn't block. And so it's a team game. I mean, there's 53 guys on a roster. So this Brock is good enough. And I'll tell you, he's good enough to get them over the top.
This year, he's not just good enough in the vacuum of this year. In the vacuum of this year, he is among the best at his position. I mean, that's the thing. I've been calling it Brock 2.0. What's Brock with expectations? Because I've got expectations for him now. And yesterday he went out and he played under the umbrella of we're expecting to see it. And he just, again, in the past 2 weeks, Purdy has gone 40 of 51 for an average of 315 passing yards with 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and better than 12 yards per attempt.
Well, we're now in the mode of we're critiquing. It's like, I kind of think like we're back in the 80s and 90s because we're now in the mode where we're critiquing Shanahan and Purdy incredibly, way too harshly. The reality is every game's not going to be a masterpiece. The Niners were winning 27-7 at the end of the third quarter. And they could have potentially won this game just going away. Instead, they played kind of a bend but don't break soft defense. They allowed the Buccaneers to complete a bunch of passes. They had a breakdown on special teams, and they wound up winning by less. But, I mean, it was still a great win. Now we're here we are. It's Monday morning, and we're critiquing the victory.
Right.
And we did that an awful lot under George Seifert. We did that under an awful lot with Steve Young. Steve Young probably could speak to it better than anybody. The idea that you won the game, you put up great numbers, and yet on Monday it wasn't good enough for the Niner fans because we are all searching for perfection.
Right.
Here's one thing that I think is kind of interesting. A tweet that I saw that I think is really interesting. The 49er defense, because a lot of times it's about how good is your defense, right? How good is your defense? Well, if you look at points per game allowed in the NFL and you took away that first month of the year and you just said from week 5 on, who's got the best defenses? Pittsburgh since week 5 on has given up 15.8 points per game. The Niners are second. They've given up 16.5 points a game since week 5. Second in the NFL. Kansas City's third. They've given up 16.6. Baltimore's fourth. They've given up 17. So, you've got other good teams in there. But the Niners, outside of Pittsburgh, are the best defense in the NFL since week 5. And Detroit, by the way, we're talking about Detroit. Detroit's 28th. They've given up 24.3 points a game since week 5. I'm not saying it's the end-all, be-all statistic. I do think it's interesting, though, that, a lot of it's about how well is your defense playing. And the Niners, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, 3 Super Bowl contenders, all 3 of those defenses are giving up 17 points a game or less since week 5. It's going to be a very interesting December and January.
Any other supers that you wanted to get to on our way out, Larry? We don't want to leave anybody feeling like they threw a little something in the tip jar but didn't get their drink pushed across the bar to them. What do we got?
Yeah, we got Elite Archer 23. Says this team isn't winning the Super Bowl. The Niners teams that won were killers. This team doesn't have that mentality. You both saw it in the 80s, same as me.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, whether it makes sense or not, I don't agree with it. They're not killers. If the 49ers needed to, if that had been a really close game, then they would have needed to play tighter defense, and they would have played tighter defense. I really believe that. They got into it kind of reminded me a lot of week 1 against the Steelers, where the Niners got up big, and then it was like, you know what? We're just going to play we're going to play a bend but don't break, soft kind of defense, and we're going to keep everything in front of us and make them travel the length of the field, and we'll see if they can do it. I think overall, you got to feel pretty good about what you're getting right now out of the 49ers on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, 2 weeks on the sidelines for Steve Wilks, and the Niners defense has played well. Tampa averaged 4.5 yards per pass, lowest of the season, 3.7 yards per rush. I mean, it wasn't like this defense, got gashed. They just played a bend but don't break style after they got up big.
And
that's what I saw.
Look, I mean, Tampa got you need to score lightning quick. And they've got the Fred Warner interference in the end zone, which, by the way, I don't even think happened in the end zone. I thought it happened at like the 2-3 yard line, and that should have been that shouldn't have been first and goal. But I guess spot foul would make it first and goal anyway. Anyways, look, it's a day where you got to tip your cap a little bit in defeat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who came out here. It's a good thing that they couldn't establish the run. It made them one-dimensional. Once they got one-dimensional and you could feel it coming, that's when, 2 sacks were recorded on their final drive of the game before the Ji'Ayir Brown interception, which was the everybody drive home safe play of the game. And it was when you're settling for field goals instead of touchdowns, you're inviting other teams to stick around that game. The Niners did that in the first half, but no harm, no foul. The only mission was win the game. Not only did they win, they covered, which means everybody should go home happy. Purdy was spectacular. Shanahan had the right game plan. Steve Wilks, since he's come down from the heavens, it's been a better brand of defense. And there's no denying that Chase Young has made an impact quickly in 2 games. It's made Bosa better. It's made the rest of the defensive line better. He recorded his first solo sack as a Niner yesterday. So
wait. You said they covered. They didn't cover for everybody, because the line went off at 13.5 and they won by 13.
Oh,
there's people out there who are listening to you say, and they covered, going, they didn't cover.
So again, I'm not a big gambler. The last time I saw the line, it was around like 10 or 12. So I thought it was in the barn.
Yeah, no, and it was probably for 90% of the people, but I think it went to 13.5.
Oh, well, that hook will get you every time.
I mean, seriously.
That's why we don't gamble, kids.
Yeah.
By the way, Kevin Krueger, who you might know, you might have met, producer of 49ers Wake Up, is sharing a market report from about an hour ago showing once again, Larry, this show is the People's Choice show for Day After 49ers Reaction. We had more of an audience today than either 95.7 or KNBR combined. We had a bigger audience than both sports talk radio stations in the market combined. So welcome to the revolution. Welcome to the takeover. Welcome to 49ers Wake Up. And welcome to what is going to be a short week. And Larry, let's figure out how we're playing this. I say that we have a 49er Wake Up on Friday after the 49ers play on Thanksgiving. And then we do it again on Monday too. I think we double dip with the 49ers Wake Up because there are going to be a lot of people who miss Friday because it's a day off and they're not getting out of bed. So maybe we do it on Monday. Maybe we go double wake ups on Friday and Monday, where Monday's show will obviously be abbreviated. We won't go 2 hours, but what do you think about that?
I'm good. I'm good for that. I'll be doing El Dorado Hills Thanksgiving with the in-laws, but I'll be doing the post game. And are you going to do a post game on Thanksgiving night?
Of course. Spend your holidays on the Plouse, baby. We're carving the turkey for everyone.
All right. Well, I will send you. I'll send you an invite too. We'll do. Also, we're giving away a Purdy jersey and a Bosa jersey on the Krueger show on Thanksgiving night, courtesy of Mojo Fantasy.
Very
So
cool.
That is very cool. And
I
then
like that.
we'll turn around and I'm doing radio, I think later that day on Friday, but I'm doing we'll hook it up early in the morning for a little 49er wake up on what they call Black Friday. So, if you're one of those people that stands in line for a $200 savings on a Samsung, hey, get your phone out there and we'll let us entertain you in line.
Wake up with us.
I want to see some shopper on shopper violence via your phone while you're watching 49er Wake Up.
You're guaranteed to get it because people don't know how to act anymore in society. So yeah,
nothing says
holiday count on Black Friday.
Nothing says the holidays like I'm going to break somebody's nose over $56 of savings on a Samsung.
Aunt Margaret taking a steel chair out so she can get to the front of the line at Walmart. Oh boy.
We got a couple more supers on the way out. I don't know why that makes me laugh. J49,
Larry. You like carnage? Just admit
I do. I seriously, I'm a glutton for punishment. Anthony says, "Why is Ryan beef with you? Dink and dunk critique. Dink and dunk critique. Now, because somebody tweeted out, that Ryan and Ted were were wrong about Purdy, and I kind of ripped him in Twitter, and now he's bent. But Ryan and I will get together. Ryan's not a bad guy, but he's gone off on me. He's bringing up Felipe Alou. He's bringing up all kinds of. He's going back to 2005, trying to bury me, cancel me.
You can feel the people who are new at this.
But Rye's not a bad guy, and I told him in a text. I said, man, you went over the line there, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'll meet up with him. I don't think he's a bad guy.
I've been on the show in the past, and I actually went to check out something of his on Twitter, and he blocked me. I don't know.
He blocked me, but you know what? He told me last night that he unblocked me, and so anyway. He told me, he said, you're unblocked. Let's meet up. So, you know what? I told him, I said, dude, you went a little too far. And so anyway, but you know what? The one thing, anybody who knows me, I'll battle with anybody, but I generally like to kiss and make up. I don't, and Damon and I have gotten in arguments for years, going back to 1995. But you know what? We always make up. And
you're wrong in 95, and I'm glad
you're wrong then. You're fucking wrong now. But Ryan and I have disagreed, and he's emotional, and I'm emotional, and we're both dug in, and this and that. But you know what? It'll be all right. We'll get together, whether it be up at his place in Rockland or down here in the creek. We will break bread. We will figure it out, and we will move on. He's not, I don't think he's a bad guy. I've never ripped his channel. We disagree on football things.
What I don't understand is why I got blocked, because I wasn't. He didn't. I've never had anything.
He
but
blocked Kev too. He's blocked. He some guy. Some people mute, other people block, some people ignore, whatever. But you know what? Everything's going to be all right. It's all going to be all right. We're going to figure it all out, and we'll this too. Whoever said this too shall pass. And then we have this one from Neo 1730. It says the Plus is the go-to for post-game review.
Well, thank you. The
post-game review.
Well, thank you very much. And here's the thing,
18th ranked station in the market.
I love hopping on with you.
Missed that rip. You missed that good rip.
No, I heard it. What a dick.
Right.
No, look at it this way. You're lucky that you got a 4-year head start on me. Enjoy it while you can.
That objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Is that what you're saying?
Where are we? Hold on. I'll give you a market update here. Hold on. Let me take a look. Where are we right now? We're over 9,400, Larry. I'm coming.
You're coming. You're coming.
Baby. We're going to get to 10 grand by the end of the year, and that's going to make me awfully happy, and I'll get there even faster if your lovely, vast audience would go ahead and click subscribe and hit a like on the way out. How we doing with do we have
I'm not competitive at all, but if there is one person, even one person of my audience that goes over there and hits like and subscribe, damn it, I will turn on you. No, I'm just joking. Everybody go.
The minute I have more subscribers than you,
I will.
you'll never appear on the channel ever again. I'm not going to need you.
I'm going to start every live stream. I'm going to reenact my Larry Bear running up 2nd Street.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to block you.
Get him off! Get him off!
Get him off!
Get him off! By the way, last night on the pregame show, the Krueger show eclipsed 28,000 subs. And this morning, we have added 42 more. So we are at 28,042 going into the 11 a.m. hour here on this Monday, November 20th, the birthday of my beautiful wife.
Congratulations, Larry. Happy Thanksgiving to you, your entire family. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the chat. Whether you like me, whether you hate me, I wish nothing but good tidings on you and your family. Hopefully you're all getting together. And again, if you're not getting together with family, need someone to hang out with during the holidays, come on over. Larry and I, the water is fine. Not only will we have 49ers wake-ups for you, but there are post-game shows, and there's an awful lot of stuff that we got going. So welcome to the family. It's good to have you here. And what else you got? We
got people. There's always people who are really funny at the end. Lester San Jose, the Skeptic Tank, has just become a YouTube member. I always give a little clap for the YouTube members.
Nice.
Albert Kwan says, I think Larry has more subs than KMBR now. Thank you. It's because I'm better. Mo drops you're fucking lazy, Larry. That's why he blocked you. You're fucking lazy. We got a congrats, Krug. And then Joe Schmo wants the sign off. Oh, wait a second. I almost put Joe up. He wants the bulky Barbieri sign off. Wait a second. I may need a pull of water for that.
All right. So hold on. Who's playing who?
Are you going to do Ralph?
Well, you want me to go Ralph or Trent? Which way do you want?
You go Trent. You go Trent. It's easier on my voice to do Ralph.
Well, and I also think that since Trent and Thanksgiving was really established in an interview with Damon Bruce, where he asked me for the Thanksgiving side draft, and I tried to dodge the question. Then I came back around and I showed you how bad of a GM that I could be. And I actually took peas and green beans with my first pick in a side dish draft.
So, come on, Trent. You're going peas and green beans. That's so cute. You're so cute, Trent. Some people like Scott McLuhan. Some people think that John Lynch is a good GM. I always said, and I told Tate, I told Tommy the other day, if I get one GM I can pick, I can go with Trent Baalke. I like Trent Baalke. Kent One Ballmer aside. I really like that Trent Baalke. I've been a Trent Baalke fan since the beginning.
Well, Ralph, this is why I wrote your name down and put it in an envelope. Because you...
Those people don't know what we're even talking about. Damon and I did post-draft coverage on the AJ Jenkins live draft coverage on the AJ Jenkins draft. And Damon was just absolutely incorrigible because he watches Big Ten football and he'd never fucking heard of AJ Jenkins. And he's like, I've never heard of AJ Jenkins.
Damon, let me tell you, you haven't heard of everybody, my friend. And I'll tell you this. I took AJ Jenkins' name and I wrote it down in an envelope. I put that envelope in my center drawer of my desk. And right as we were about to make that pick, Damon, I looked at that and I said, you know what? That's the envelope that has AJ Jenkins' name written in it. And that's why, Damon, I'm convinced AJ is going to be a player for us.
And I think I said something like, well, you could have pulled that envelope out in the 4th round and he still would have been there for you.
Yeah, seriously.
It's one
note to self, lock Trent Baalke's fucking drawers from now on.
Well, anyway, Ralph, I wrote your name down.
I can't even do it.
Trent, I don't know why you went with AJ Jenkins. He could run, but he couldn't catch shit. I told Tate, I told Tommy, I mentioned it to Ted Robinson. This guy can't catch. He doesn't catch. I mean, that's the bottom line. You got, as a receiver, Trent, you know better than anybody, as a general manager, and I've always said I'm a big fan of yours, you got to catch the ball. No, and no block, no rock. This guy can't block. Come on, Trent.
Well, this is why I drafted Chris Borland. I think that he's going to be around for a decade, and I think that Chris Borland is committed to playing linebacker for a very, very long time. Oh, no, wait, never mind. His dad's smart, and he says, kid, get out of football.
Why do you always got to go there? You got to bring up concussions. It's a dangerous game, Trent. I love you. I'm a big fan. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody for Damon. I'm Larry. Have a great day. Thanks for 49er Wake Up.